of them. You're wasting all your time and money on models. Paint what you have.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Model Club TV, episode 118. My lovely co-host, Scott Johansson, just told me a very inappropriate joke, which we cannot share on the show. And again, it is focused around my mother. Whew. How are you, Scott?
Love your mother. Little snack.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So,
how are you, man? It's summer. We're back. Our live stream went off really well. What are your thoughts? Anything? How's the things?
yeah, it went off really well.
You're so helpful. You're so helpful.
Thanks. I like to keep the show rolling.
I know you do.
Are you still waiting on an address?
I am waiting on one person. I don't want to mention their name so that someone can't pretend to be them. But if you won something on the show, we have one kit that is still waiting for an owner to send me their information. So by the time this comes out on the 15th, we are recording a little early this time. If you haven't got your stuff, I'm still waiting on one thing. Everything else has gone out. I'm excited. It's easy.
And I'm still waiting to hear from the gentleman that wanted the Heston bust.
Okay. Yeah, so if you were that in chat, we can't remember who it was. We should go
or
back
the
and
lady.
look.
It might have been a lady. Person. Sorry.
So, we have a special episode. This is one of the guests that everyone has been asking for a very long time. We finally have John Alred as an interview, and it went really well. It's long, so we're going to change up the format. This one, we're going to skip news and reviews a little bit because we're recording a little early, and there's nothing much since the last episode. So, we want to talk about a couple things, and then do some emails, and then jump into the interview and let it go. So, before we move on, how are you, Scott? Anything new since the live show? Any life changes? Anything you want to talk about?
Well, it was the 4th of July.
Yeah, how'd 4th of July go?
Trixie didn't like it.
Oh.
And so I was watching through the window at my neighbor's display when one of his things fell over and shot into my yard. Another one shot down the street. And remember in our live stream when I yelled at my neighbor that I don't like?
Yes.
One of them shot through his front window, which is...
Wait, the big picture window? Like the big...
Well, he's got 3 windows in the front, so yeah. Which is, karma's a bitch because, I don't know if I told everyone about what was going on, but this guy likes to play his music super loud, and he was doing it. 3 of us were having a party, and we all had to listen to his music. That's how loud it was. Okay, so...
Wow.
Anyway.
It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys over there.
No, it's like the normal people and the buttwad. So, hopefully, we can figure this out.
Yeah. So cool. It didn't burn down or anything. Like,
unfortunately, I don't think it went through both windows. I think it was like a paned window and only went through the.
Oh my gosh.
So no, unfortunately, his house is still standing. But
this was a very uneventful 4th of July for me. It was nice and calm. Some people.
See, you should have been here when my neighbor's shit went, because you'd have probably got.
Have you sworn twice in the first 8 minutes? Should have been here. Oh, and now I'm getting the finger.
No, I'm scratching.
Oh, okay.
This is the finger.
People have missed this. This is what they've missed. For our month off of June, this is what they missed. That people were clamoring for this sort of.
Yeah, they're clamoring. That's what they're doing. They're sitting at home clamoring.
Clamoring.
I gotta have this. I gotta hear a Jason's mom joke.
You can't tell that one, I don't think. Well, at least in the first 40 minutes of this show. Oh my God. Maybe at the end. Maybe I'll put it as a blooper. Did we record it? I don't even know.
I don't know. You're in charge of that.
So yes, we got a great guest this episode, but we mentioned it on the live stream. But we have something. We have an announcement. Scott, you want to make that announcement?
Now I will. We've decided that our annual picnic that was an annual because we skipped a year. But anyway, we're going to try to make it annual.
Semi-annual?
Semi whenever the hell we want it. Is going to be August 31st this year. That's a Sunday before Memorial Day. Or, I'm sorry, Labor Day.
Labor Day. Oh, boy.
Labor Day falls on the 1st this year. So that's why it seems early, August 31st.
It seems really early for me, but yes, that's cool.
So we had to wait for Jason to clear his schedule with his master.
Yes.
Which he did.
I did.
And
made sure there was no secret plans that she told me and I just didn't listen to.
So yes, so we're going for August 31st, tentative time, 1:00 Central.
It will be at Scott's house again.
We'll be at my house again.
Unless you want to do it at my house. You want to do it at my house?
No, your house is getting too dangerous. Okay. How many shootings have you had in a 1 mile radius of your house in the last year?
You had a house explode by your house.
That wasn't in a 1 mile radius.
Many shootings? Multiple.
I've had 0.
Well, people still. Anyway, so Scott's house. There's also a swap section if you want to bring some kits that you're trying to unload or sell, garage sale style, swap meet style. Bring your kits, bring some things. If you have a new release you want people to get a crack at, let us know and we'll advertise it here on the show so people coming to the barbecue can bring some money and buy your kits.
Speaking of getting a crack at it, maybe your mom will come and everyone can get a crack at her.
I mentioned I mentioned it to them yesterday because they showed up last year as a secret surprise. I mentioned it to my mom and dad again, the date, and they said, we'll think about it.
Think about it, my ass.
So this is, I'm excited. It's been a good time every year we've done it. So, south suburbs of Chicago. So if you're making plans on driving or flying, I know the Worthlings already messaged me yesterday about if we're doing it because they want to fly in again. So if you need directions or help, we can just reach out to us afterwards and we'll get there. So it is.
Now we don't really want him here, but
yeah, modelclubtv@gmail.com for all your emailing needs. Anyway, there's a voicemail, 708-816-4299. Try and leave us something that's actually funny.
Oh, are we back on live now?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know.
All right.
August 31st.
August 31st. More information following in the next episode as we get closer.
We will have probably some beer like Miller Lite or something.
Yeah.
But if you want your own specialty beers, you do have to bring that.
Yeah. We will be providing food and everything else.
Sodas. So. I will have sodas and food. And
yeah. So cool. Join us for a modeling barbecue.
I'll wear my coconut bra.
Oh boy. All right. What if we all like that look actually?
Probably do.
Yeah. Okay. Just another little side note on the show. Some more what's in the box is coming. Some other live streams coming. Other stuff happening. Stay tuned. Summer's going to get busy and be over very quickly. All right. So like I said, we're switching up the format a little bit. So we're going to do emails right off the bat. We have an email from Matthew Cook, and these emails kind of go together. Greetings from the other side of Lake Michigan. I hope this finds you well. Since I work nights, I did not listen to your live stream until a few days later. As someone else who was at Wonderfest, I'll just say it was a great time, and I was outright irresponsible in the dealer's room. Good seeing you there, too. Congrats on the well-deserved silver award. Thank you. Your comments on model bases got me thinking. As a member of IPMS Club, it has always been made clear that all judging is strictly focused on the model and the base is completely separate. Contest rules are what they are, but I disagree. The base is an integral part of a model. Most bases on my shelf will only support one model despite my efforts at using consistent pin measurements and 0.125 rods. He's a machinist. Ideally, a base must enhance a model. Not only should it support your tiny masterpiece, but it should provide context to tell you something about the world it exists in and what your model might do in that world. This applies to figures such as Medusa, perhaps just getting her morning coffee and accidentally turning a barista into stone, or a tank rolling through an apocalyptic wasteland over some zombies. Even an airplane on a stick can show a sense of motion as a Maverick and Goose are going Mach 3 through the skies. According to the contest rules, it might be called a vignette or diorama, but I don't worry about defining my work as I've been disqualified before. A good base does require some extra effort, but ultimately rewards the builder with a more complete model experience. I included pictures of a couple of my models with their bases to illustrate my point. Both are okay by themselves, but are vastly improved by their bases. They have both been too wonderful. So here's his example. Here's his, I would say, Styracosaurus with eggs and a robot floating over a city. Yes, the bases enhance those. Definitely. Very cool stuff, by the way. Thoughts, Scott, on that email, but the next one kind of ties into it. You want to comment or wait till the next one?
For the Jason Walkers out there, 0.125 is 1/8 of an inch.
Is it?
0.125 and 0.125 equals 0.250. 0.25 is 1/4 of an inch. Half of a quarter is an
0.25, yes. I know that. That's a quarter, 25 cents.
Right. So half of that is 1/8.
Half of 25 is
12.5.
One.
Still 12.5.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So
I'm still trying to
0.125
get
is 1/8.
Why do you bog us down with math?
Yeah, no, it's tough.
Okay. So hold on to the thoughts there because they're going to all kind of go together. Now we have an email from Barry Goss. Disclaimer. And it's called Questions and Can of Worms. Disclaimer. The judging content I include, the can of worms, could spark good and or bad reactions. So I leave it up to you whether to read this on air or not, but please forward this email to Scott. There is a question for him, which we took care of. Hello, Jason and Scott. Jason was 19.
Care of it. Did you let him know? Because I never let him.
I don't know. Did you let him know?
No. So we'll answer the question here.
All right, then I'll read the whole thing. Hello, Jason and Scott. Jason, it was nice to meet both you and Brian at the show. Scott, I almost introduced myself to you, but whenever I passed you in the vendor room or hallway, you always had this look, a certain je ne sais quoi. So I didn't feel comfortable being some rando off the street coming up to you and introducing myself as, hi, I'm Barry Goss, the Jason Mom Sauce guy. But next year I will. So you intimidated him. Did you?
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're sorry.
Barry,
about
by
that.
all means, introduce yourself. What's the worst that can happen?
Well, you could become friends and have to endure years of mental abuse. As Barry.
I wish I could. Je ne sais quoi you.
Now, leading up to Wonderfest, it sounded like both of you were busy printing and casting things for yourself and other producers, which leads me to my first question. Side hustles. Scott, last December I saw your King Kong bust on the Way of the Dragon, Gilbert, Jerry, and the boys, and was wondering if that print is still available. Scott?
It is still available in 2 sizes. The smaller size is 60 and the larger size is 80.
Okay. We'll go
I'll have to check the prices, but yes, they are still available.
So, Scott, would you like to give your email or how do you get a hold of you? Best way?
Facebook.
Okay. Jason, I'm looking forward to the Godzilla that you previewed, the animated one from Well Winter. I'm sure that Mark Worthling and others will be more than happy to provide guidance in your endeavor, which segues into my next question. Cartoon, comic, caricature, animation. At Wonderfest this year, I saw some of these genres on the tables, but not so much in the vendor rooms. I'm a multi-genre squirrel builder, and I do like my Looney Tunes with Wells and Tony Cipriano and others. Might this be a growing niche? Gallery. So let's stop there. Do you think the cartoons are gaining steam compared to where they were before?
Well, I think there's enough out there, especially thanks to Well, that yeah, you can go on there. There are a few other people, Natty Ramos. There's a couple other random folks that have done some Looney Tunes stuff. So yeah, the stuff's out there, and you do start to see it printed and in contests and stuff.
I would say it's bigger than ever, but it's not Garage Kit technically. So, But it was a niche that was filled again by 3D printing because there weren't that many. I have a feeling there were a lot more cartoon people in the hobby than producers thought there were. Because
And
the
what have
amount
I
of
always said about it? What have I always said about it?
What
It's
have
the
you
great untapped genre. So
because I would say more than half of what I print for customers is cartoon stuff all the time. So cool. I'm glad it's picking up. All right, number 3, gallery. Is there a specific format, JPEG or PNG, for the file size to contribute to the post-episode gallery? This is a fantastic question and proves how much of a terrible host I am because I've never really said that. I've said some things, but not all the way. So JPEG or PNG totally work. JPEG's probably preferable. Doesn't really matter, though, format-wise. Size matters. If you can take a picture that's...
what your mom says.
If you can take a picture that's 9:12 format, or 16 by 9, sorry, 16 by 9, or 1920 by 1080, that makes it, if your picture, and where's my phone? It is so much better if you hold your phone this way when you're taking your picture. If you're taking pictures vertical, that's why when you see pictures in the gallery and it's just that strip down the center, it's a vertical picture that I can't stretch out to fill the screen. So, and I know sometimes you have to do that, and that's okay. But then if you do that, I can put 3 or 4 together on the same spot.
You
right?
said doo-doo. Yeah.
If you do that. But it's much preferable to get a full screen. So if you do 1920 by 1080, it can fit in the whole slideshow and take up the whole screen of the TV or the computer screen. So that's what I like, but I'll take it any way we can get it. It's fine. Other than that, you don't need to send one from every angle of the same thing. So you could do like forward, back, side, perfect. I don't need, I've had some, and I'm not ripping on anybody because I know it's nice to choose.
And I don't know that they've ever sent to you. But has anyone ever sent you a video, like a turntable video?
Yes, I have gotten those, and I've put those in the gallery a couple times. We tried to get one from Ron Joseph last time, and I was having trouble getting it to load in. But you can send in movie files that I can insert in there, and sometimes those work. So, and sometimes they don't. But yeah, like you don't need to take a picture this way, unless it's crazy detailed and you really want to get in there. All right. Let's keep going. Number 4, historical busts and bases. Oh my. Like arseholes, everyone has their own opinion when it comes to judging. Things can get quite heated. Historical. Wonderfest has had its own essence, and I tend to agree with Lou, the Aztec dummy, that historical figures and subjects don't belong on Wonderfest display tables. That being said, silver screen and TV series characters and vehicles do. Case in point, Sweet Life tombstone busts depict movie actors from a film, not real-life historical people. Let's stop there. Did we even talk about that?
No, but I unfortunately disagree.
Okay. Me too, I think.
Here's why. Yes, Wonderfest is most commonly pop culture. Okay. Which leads it to movies, television, comics, all that stuff. Where, okay, historical figures are a different genre altogether. However, it's still figure modeling. So, or bust modeling, whatever you want to call it. And so to me, one of the reasons I think our hobby is so isolated is because of the pop culture restriction it has on it. Okay, where when you go into gaming, first of all, there's so many more people to game. And second of all, so there's so much more available out there. But yet they're still using the same techniques to paint their stuff. So the same thing with historical figures and military modelers and your vehicle modelers. There's something for everyone there. and it's still modeling. And if we worked to combine it, maybe we wouldn't be such a separate niche.
I'm
And
torn.
and again, not to criticize any of the magazines, but the magazine stayed focused on the pop culture stuff.
Yeah,
And
but
they
that's what
never
made them
drew
cool
in
and different.
They never drew in the audience.
But then that's a whole nother layer to this. There isn't an audience. In my, like we've talked about before, the subscriptions for AFM were just around over 1,000 outside of the people buying it at the comic shops and stuff. I'm torn because if you go to a figure, like the show we went to, the Figure Model Expo, you could put anything in there as long as it was a figure, right? And look how, and yes, military dominates that show, historical. Not military, but historical figures. How mad would you be if you walked into the Wonderfest contest room and saw nothing but historical military stuff?
Okay, again, I'm not saying go all the way one way. I'm
just saying, but that's like.
So if they had a separate category for it,
yeah, I think that would be the way to handle it.
Because I used to be on this one website and I don't get it anymore in my feed. I think it was weathered models or something.
Yeah, I don't see that much anymore either.
And I loved looking at the work because, so much of it could be incorporated into what we do, and vice versa. Maybe they'd see stuff we do and say, "Oh, we could do that."
But I devil's advocate, and I'm not taking a side really here one way or the other because
you are.
Devil's advocate would say, "Well, they have their own shows. We need our own."
You're right. They do have their own shows. And look at the attendance their own shows gets compared to Wonderfest. And I'm not bashing Wonderfest, okay? But Wonderfest, again, it's a niche, and it's a niche group that goes, okay? And I for one, would like to see it bigger.
I agree.
Potential to grow and potential to get younger kids into it. So if some kid that's playing Warhammer walked into Wonderfest because they have Warhammer stuff in there, but now walks up and sees, something cool on whoever's table.
Yeah.
He might say, "Oh, that's really cool. I'd like to paint that," and get in that art, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Okay. You yourself are a prime example that have gone into the, started kind of in that world, went back, but you still are in that world. So it's
I agree. There's I just, we'll get there because I think this next thing has something to do with it. Bus, I wholeheartedly.
Wait, hold on, stop. And I'm just gonna say, again, if your niche isn't huge, your potential to grow, you're going to shrink more than you're going to grow, because most of our niche stuff is baby boomer related. Okay. And a lot of us are older. A lot of us are dying off. A lot of us are looking at life differently.
But then that falls into the historical guys are mostly boomer guys too. So if you reach out to those guys, they die off with the rest of this too. Like,
well, yeah, but there's been military modeling been going on a long time.
For a long, yeah. No, I agree. Okay, bus. I wholeheartedly agree that bus should be a separate category. Bases, to judge or not to judge. That is the question. Yes.
Busts. What constitutes a bust? Okay.
In my opinion, this is a bust.
Okay, so what do we call, and we're going to have a guest on.
Hold on. This, I have nothing but bust. This is a bust.
Okay. Chances are you'll drop something and we'll have another bust.
This is a bust. That's a bust.
It's your mom in the morning before.
This is a bust. Okay? All right. That's, in my opinion, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's take our next guest that's coming on
Yes.
from Sweet Life Productions. Okay. Are they producing busts?
Yes.
Are they producing half figures?
Yes.
What's the difference? So, what would you put that in?
I would say that a bust, like a bust, should be supported by a simple sort of pillar, or what do you plinth, maybe. It doesn't have any sort of legs. It's not supported on its own. But
Okay, so then stuff like Paul does and Mark Worthling's line.
This is a Paul piece. Like, I think this counts as a bust, even though this is a little more detailed. You still have that. That to me is a bust. You have something like this.
All right.
And there's
so you take Mark's latest mummy, but you've got an arm.
That counts.
Or you know, which you
arms
love the
count.
arms.
Arms can be in there. Arms are cut off. But a bust,
Okay.
traditionally, if you go back to like fine art, a bust is here up.
I don't disagree with that.
No, I know, and I'm
just saying is
and
what's allowed in the bust category then? Okay,
you're right that the water has been clouded in the last couple of years with these half figures that have been coming out, which then the half figures are set in weird places that make them look like they should be figures.
I'm not criticizing anybody. I want to make sure I'm clear on this.
So the water has been muddied with busts, but I think a bust would traditionally be chest, waist up, supported by some sort of base.
Okay, but if the base has
or no base at all, it could be like whatever. It could just be sitting.
Okay, but so then that'll kind of lead into the next category in guy's email. But it's, you know, Paul's done some bases that, let's say, interact with his kit. Well, you just showed one basically, but that's a simple one. But and Mark Worthling's got that series of stuff that he got from Monsters from the Woods, and you know, like there's hieroglyphics and you know, there's different things going on in the base.
I have like 15 busts. So, I want to just pull down and show, and they're all we'd have to come to a consensus at some point as a hobby.
It just, you know, and again, I'm not criticizing.
No. Comments down below, everybody. I want this to be out there for the future. I want everyone to read and comment. What do you think constitutes a bust? What do you think about half figure? What is that? Is a 1-1
half figures, maybe third figures with an arm.
Yes.
I
had an interesting thought today.
Would a base for the bust that relates to the figure, you know?
So I was thinking earlier, if you have a 1-1 scale bust, does that go in the props category? If it's of a monster from a movie, is it, and it's supposed to be like the suit?
Sorry, everyone. I'm itchy.
Oh my God.
I got fleas.
The skin flakes are going to start flying through the camera now. You watch. Would a 1-1 scale bust of like a rubber, of like the creature from the Black Lagoon, would that go in the props category?
No.
Why not?
Well, it could, but it's really still a bust. There's no size limit on the bust.
But I'm just saying, if it is a 1-1 scale kit of the creature suit, why isn't that in the prop category?
It could be in the prop category if you wanted to put it there. Yeah. But I'm saying it's still a bust. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's still a bust.
Oh man, there's so much here, and this is what makes it difficult. When you start actually thinking about all this, it sucks. So we'll get into the rest of this. Bases. To judge or not to judge, that is the question. I've actively judged the Florida circuit since 1999. Every show needs judges from other clubs to help the hosting club, which they return in kind at your club shows. That's how I first met Mark Worthling. We are so sorry. So sorry. Barry, we're sorry. I belong to the IPMS Orlando, and Mark belonged to our sister club, IPMS Space Coast. That sounds fake. That sounds so made up. I judged first, second,
sounds
third.
kind of clever to me.
I judged first, second, third, best turd on the table, and the open system. If you can't tell by the way I worded the first style of judging, I prefer the open system. Why gold, silver, bronze? The open system promotes rewarding the modeler of their achieved efforts or not beating them up. Now, depending on a particular show's rules, it is at the head judge's discretion to include or exclude bases in the scoring process. My approach when judging is to take the base into consideration if it enhances the model. If it distracts, I don't include it in my overall score. Remember, the goal is to reward, not punish. Now, another can of worms. What is a base? I'll leave that for another discussion. Thanks, guys. Barry, Goss, Moss, Boss, Voss, Goss. Thank you, Barry. P.S. Sorry about Black Phone 2 trailer causing issues. My Hollywood insider is my son. He works. I don't want to put that on. Yeah, I have to figure out how all these other YouTube channels show video clips, and we can't. I don't get it.
So, Wonderfest is an open system.
Yes, which I like.
It's not a first, second, third, but it is a gold, silver, bronze.
Yes, it is an open
system. And that's
system.
to show the modeler, I think, where they're at, skill level wise.
Yes.
Okay. So
but I like that.
It's
system.
not necessarily a first, second, third prize. So I'm okay with the Wonderfest. Yeah, I can see where a first, second, third could get bad, but I would love to judge best turd on the table.
We've talked about that. I'd love to.
What were we gonna call it? We were gonna call it.
Oh, what were we gonna call it?
The Nice Try Award or something, or I don't know.
Remember? God dang! Why we are old? I can't remember.
But we knew we'd be too mean, and
we would get in trouble. I know. Yeah, we didn't want to be mean, but I was like,
so
But what were you thinking?
Now, as far
award?
as the bases go, what were you thinking of word?
It was something like that.
So,
what the hell? With a giant question.
I think the base enhancing the model is good. Now, if it distracts, he doesn't include it in his overall score. Then I disagree. I would have to say if it distracts, then you're taking away from the model itself. So if you choose, and I love to use Tony as an example. When Tony makes his kits, he puts them on simple disc bases because that's what Tony likes to do. Okay, that's how he likes to see it.
It's funny because I was going to say the same thing.
If you put your model on a simple disc base, okay, you're going to be judged on the figure alone, basically. That's fine. Okay. But once you up the game, now you're upping your, how do you want to be judged? To me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, we have not confirmed with Wonderfest.
None of this.
how the judging worked, if the bases count, if they didn't. We're going to reach out to George. And we're going to, simply because I'd like to know how the judges are instructed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
my personal opinion is you need to judge the base as well. Or why put the base in?
Yes. But here's my caveat to that. But I have to ask a question first, because I don't know. In the spaceship category, what is that category called? Do you have it pulled up?
I can. Vehicles and hardware, I believe. So
vehicles and hardware. Are vehicles and hardware separated out like sci-fi, fantasy, horror? Sci-fi, fantasy is one. Horror is another one, right?
Well, as far as what? As far as
the figures go at Wonderfest. Isn't there a separate horror category and a separate sci-fi, fantasy category?
No. So I'm going to give you the categories real quick. Sci-fi fantasy figures includes robots.
So that's
horror figures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let's stop there. My question is, why is that separated out? Like, what would be the point? And I don't remember what went into it. Maybe back then. I think
it's just where they put them on the table. So I think that's just how they separate them out on the tables.
Probably from way back
and maybe they separated out because of the specialty awards.
And I think
Okay.
And I think some of this
Well, so
is
here,
vestiges of
let me move on. So you have horror figures, then you have vehicles, then you have superheroes and supervillains. Well, again, it falls into still figures. Okay.
which brings me to what my proposal will be. So I
Yes.
think some of this is
So
stemmed
then
from, hold on one second. It stemmed from back when the show had very few sci-fi ships. Like there wasn't a lot of spaceships, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
And it was almost all figures. So then it made sense to kind of, oh, the horror section's over here, the sci-fi fantasy's over here, the kaiju's over here. And you knew where you were going to look at stuff.
Right. Well, you do have a vehicles, category.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
then is the Starship Enterprise a vehicle?
Yes. Apparently, yes.
So that's what I'm saying. So there's just that one
So is the
category.
Batmobile. Yeah.
But there's just that one category for all of those things, right?
For vehicles, yes.
So then in my opinion, and you know what those are like, there should just be a figure category. And there should be a figure category, and then there should be a bust category. But then the figure category should only be stuff like Tony's, where it is on a simple base with nothing added to it. That would be your figure category. If it is, and your bust category would be the same. So a bust in that the bust category would be with a simple base with nothing else really added to it. So you're basically judging the bust. But then you would do something called vignettes and dioramas. A vignette would be you take your figure and it has a base that goes with it. So I did some research before the show. A diorama tells a story and has multiple figures in it. A diorama shouldn't just have one figure in it. So then a vignette would be if you took, let's say, one of the examples I saw was a gunfight in an Old West town. You have the two guys shooting each other. There's a guy mopping the deck of a restaurant, and you have all these figures and a building and a railing and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the vignette would be if you took one of those gunfighters out of that diorama and had part of the street and had part of the fence post or the railing next to him shooting his gun, but you had part of the building in it. That would be a vignette. Whereas the diorama would be the two guys shooting each other, the guy sweeping the building, all that stuff. Because then that breaks out, and then you would get judged on your base building ability. And then dioramas would be the even crazier category past that, where you're doing all your crazy big stuff or telling a big story instead of just the one figure from there. Does that make sense?
It does, but it's you got to understand. I'm sure they have enough hard time with the categories they have.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this categories. There's 13 separate categories.
That's what I'm saying. Get rid of them. There's no reason.
There is a reason. I'm going to tell you
what is it? Tell me.
This is what I think the reason is. Okay. Because when you go into special awards, okay, that's when it gets a little more selective. For example, okay, amazing figure modeler, most amazing figure. Okay, that could be any figure category: horror, sci-fi, fantasy, anime, kaiju, superhero, supervillain. It could be any of those. Okay,
it has to be a figure, which came up a few years back.
Okay. Then there's also a best out of the box mech, and there's a best out of the box spaceship. Okay, so that's going to be in vehicles. That's fine.
And Wonderfest people, please don't get mad at us. We're just
spitballing. I'm defending them.
Yeah, no, I know.
So
but I'm not saying we want to we're not saying anyone did a bad job.
Now you have another sponsored award, best starship. Okay, fine. Okay, that's good too. Now you do have a best bust and a best 1-to-1 scale bust special award. Okay.
But then that blows up your argument because the busts are scattered throughout the contest.
You're right, but it's still, but technically so can horror, so can any of it be. Yeah. So I'm getting there.
Okay.
So now Alternative Images did best horror. They sponsored the best horror. Okay. So again, why does horror have a separate category? Well, because it's got a separate award. GK US Creative, Best Superhero Supervillain. Why does it have a separate thing? Because it's got a separate award.
Yeah, but that doesn't
Best
mean
prop.
you can't just walk around the contest and look at all the superheroes.
I agree, but it's probably easier for them to. And I will say this though, when you do walk, and you have Best Humor and Super Deform, which I don't have a problem with that either.
No, that should be a category.
Best Babe, again, that's a
figure. That could be in any category.
So, and again, those are just a few of them, but it does tend. Here's the thing: it's all figures. So yes, it's all figures. It should just be put out there. Now, I look at certain things should be put together. Should the kaiju stuff be put all in one place?
Kaiju should be a category. Yes.
Should the anime stuff all be put in one place?
Yes, because it's a different style painting.
Because it's a different genre, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, should the supervillains, superheroes, horror, sci-fi, fantasy all be put in the same place?
And superheroes.
Yes, and superheroes and supervillains. Because, and you've seen it, believe it or not. You've seen it. You've seen, I think it was last year, Norbert's Batman was not on a superhero table. Okay.
Yeah.
It was on. So I think the categories are there mainly for the special awards because they're not always grouped together. Yeah, I've seen a table where it's mostly superheroes. Okay. Table where it's but I've also seen superheroes and supervillains in the figure thing, and that's got a lot to do with where you place your kit. You may have control over that.
You don't. They kind of tell you where to put it.
Okay.
So and then it comes down to space sometimes too. Whereas if you're getting rid of, and you just have figures on one side of the room, spaceships on the other side of the room, kaiju somewhere, and you make your other little tables and dioramas and vignettes. I don't know. We got to get to the bottom of this.
We're going to have to talk to George.
We're going to have to talk to George. Please leave your comments down below. I would love to read everyone's ideas. If you were running, if I was running a model show, it would be figures, vignette, diorama, busts.
What a mess that would be.
I know it would be. That's why we haven't done it. And then spaceships. I don't know. In my opinion, this is
okay.
Here's the least popular opinion. Hold on. I'm going to piss off most of Wonderfest. I don't think there should be any spaceships or sci-fi vehicles in Wonderfest at all. But that's me, because it always, to me, was a figure show. And I don't think those guys should be there.
That took over a long time ago.
I know. Okay. They pushed us out.
No, they didn't push us out.
Yes, they did.
We pushed our stuff out for the before said reasons of we're really not that big to begin with. They've probably saved that show.
I agree.
Believe it or not.
But now let's kick them out.
Let's kick them out.
I'm kidding, spaceship people. But I mean, honestly, that's most of the show.
They pay more for their entries. They pay a higher tariff for their entries.
They should.
No, I'm just kidding. Again, kidding.
Spaceships are double. But then that brings up another thing. I don't think you should be allowed to enter 10 kits. I think that's ridiculous. But I know that's how Wonderfest makes their money. I think there should be a minimum amount, or a max and a min. Min doesn't matter. Like a max of 2 or 3. I
don't know. What
quality over quantity. Quality over quantity.
What if you built one for every category?
That's fine. There's the limit. 1 per category.
So
piss everyone.
A little Nazi.
I am a
yes.
I'm a contest Nazi.
So
our stocks will rise high.
So let me ask this though then. So I've seen this and it really enhances. I've seen some vehicle kits with great bases as well. And sometimes the bases are very simple, but they're painted like a star field or whatever, but they're beautiful and they really add to the kit. Okay. So is
What
that
if you have
judged?
an X-wing flying over a meteoroid base or something, or over the
Yes.
Death Star? Like, does that count? That's something I would like to know too. That's part of it. That's a diorama. In a way, if you have two ships fighting each other over a base, that should go in diorama.
Mhm.
If it's one starship with a little bit of like the moon underneath it, that would be a vignette.
Good. What if a kid has a background? Isn't that part of it?
Yes.
Okay, again, it's there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is a lot. So we got to have George back, and I don't think we've made anyone mad. I mean, we'll see. But there's a lot. I don't know why it kind of boiled over this year, which is weird.
Well, and again, like every year, people are going to get mad at me. Like every year, there's always sour grapes.
Always.
Okay, and
have I had sour grapes in the past? Yes.
And there okay. The same people are not judging that whole contest.
Correct.
Okay, so there's going to be discrepancies. What you give a gold to, I might look at and say, no, that's only a silver. What you give a silver to, I might look at and say that's only a bronze. I might say that's a gold. You'd say, no, that's a silver. So that's just two of us. Now you take all those judges, okay, and they all volunteer, and it's great that they volunteer, but you're probably not going to have consistency. And it would be interesting. And there's no way you could obviously.
Well, I think you just reminded me of why there's categories.
If you could put the same kit on different judges' tables, it would be interesting to see if that same kit got the same award across the board.
Yeah.
And my opinion is it wouldn't. Okay.
Now, I don't think so.
Maybe 9 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10 would say, yes, that's a silver, not a gold. But, so yes, it is somehow dependent on who judges. Now, would it be nice to know who judges it and say why? Yeah, for the person that's mad, yes, it would be. But can you imagine being that poor judge that has to field 100 questions?
Right.
Why wasn't
or even like have to write comments on everyone's ticket. There's not time for that. There just isn't.
Right.
There just isn't.
So again, cut those people some slack. They do the best they can. They have over 1,000.
That's the thing. I don't have a problem with the judging. I think the categories need to be streamlined into something different.
And you were getting ready to say maybe that's why there's categories, because there's better people to judge certain categories. Like, for example, I've never judged. I judge you all the time, but
you judge. I'm like, what are you talking about? You judge me on a daily basis.
I've never judged. Okay, but if you were going to put me as a judge, the categories that I feel I could judge would probably be, most of them, dioramas, any figures. Okay, probably not anime. I would say I don't want to do anime. I don't want to do like Gundams and stuff like that, because that's not my area of expertise. Okay.
And I think
definitely not starships. Definitely, I'm not the one to put starships.
Okay. Right. But I would say the reason you do that, and if people are wondering, I think the reason you do it, not because you can't tell when something's painted well, because anybody can walk up on an Enterprise and go, holy crap, that's a really good spaceship. Or, oh my God, that's a beautiful anime figure.
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing the kit, I think, more in knowing how it started than how it ended. Yeah. And that would help the judge know what work was actually done. So maybe we answered the question.
And it's hard too with ships, with the lighting and stuff like that. I mean, okay. And again, another question, just like the bases. Ooh, is it judged on the lighting? Okay, I've got an Enterprise that's not lit but painted great, and I've got an Enterprise that's maybe not painted quite that good, but the lighting enhances it to the point where they both get the same award.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my God.
Where does it stop? So
I would say if you're not lighting your spaceship model, you're doing it wrong. Like, they have to be. Like,
No, disagree totally. Because how many Millennium Falcons have you seen not lit? How many X-Wings and
they're
TIE
terrible.
Fighters?
All of them are terrible.
No, they're not. No, just stop. Okay, just stop.
Light your spaceships.
You're just being an obstinate
No, I'm not.
bitch right now. Okay.
But no, I mean, but yes, some model kits don't lend to be lit. But you have to agree, a lit spaceship looks a lot better than a non-lit spaceship.
Okay. And you know what? A kit with a diorama base looks a lot better
Right.
sometimes than a kit on a disc.
Right.
Okay. So
what does that tell
counts.
us? Light your
To me-
spaceships and build some bases.
But I mean, again, I'm not saying you're wrong if you just want to
No.
stick stuff on a disc. Okay, it's
I know, and some kits
your
work like
speak for
that.
itself.
Like a good example. Oh, I should grab. I don't want to. It's over there. Gardens. I bought the bust of the guy in the Godzilla suit, and the base on that is just that block of wood. And I think that's a million times better than like if there was some destroyed city base around it or some crazy Godzilla base. Because that block of wood adds like, what's the right word? A classiness to it, as opposed to toy quality. You know, like. So, and same with those disc base that Tony does.
Well, again,
It's a simple, elegant solution. Like, but then you have no modeling. You're just painting, which is a whole nother discussion. All right, I don't think we solved anything at all.
No, we probably opened more worms. Thanks.
We're probably going to get more hate mail than we've
Thanks,
ever
Mr.
gotten.
Goss. We appreciate. We appreciate that.
Send all hate mail to Barry. Everything that we said was because of him.
Yeah.
I'm going with that. That works. All right, our guest.
Yeah, Barry. Yeah, come see me next year, Barry. We'll talk about this. Yeah. No,
Make your mean face that you probably had on. That's probably what you looked like walking. All right, our guest is...
I can't believe there's one more fat ass behind my table, so I can't sit down. That's probably what I'm thinking. Okay, go ahead.
Wow, you hear that, Rob? He's talking about you.
Yeah.
Our guest this episode is John Alred. It's a great interview. It is a long one, which is why, oh man, I didn't want to spend an hour, so this is going to be a 3-hour podcast. No. Our guest this episode is John Alred, a guest that a lot of people have asked for. We're finally able to pull this off and get him on. Thank you, John, for joining us. We'll come back for a minute afterwards, but we'll go straight into the gallery at the end, which is a lot. It's mostly gallery stuff from the live stream. Just wanted to give it another shot. John's a great guest. Scott, what do you think? We've already had the interview. Talk about it more afterwards, but thoughts before we jump in?
Jump in. Just dive in.
Just diving in. All right. Here's John Alred, everyone. Hello, everyone. We are back with John Alred. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us in this beautiful summer day. We're recording during the day, which is weird for us. How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain.
How hot is it out there where you are? And let everyone know where you are right now. So kind of.
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been here for 5 years, and it's 118 degrees today.
I thought 103 next to the smoker was bad, but man, oh God. So how long have you been in Arizona? You just said it. Let's do it again. Where did you grow up? How did you end up in Arizona?
I grew up outside of Chicago, suburbs of Chicago.
What suburb?
Schiller Park.
Look at that.
Schiller Park. By O'Hare Airport, Anaheim.
And we now know you're officially from Chicago because you just said the magic catchphrase, over by.
Over by, right.
Anytime I say over by, I get in arguments with people because they don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I thought I had lost all the affectations,
Not that.
But every so often, I guess they come out. I only notice it when I'm talking with Jeff, because Jeff's, from there, and he does that accent. Yeah. There's definitely an accent.
Yeah,
I have to make fun of him every so often.
And you should. You should make fun of us for that.
Yes, he needs to be fun.
So I have to ask.
Yes,
this
sir.
This is totally off topic, but I got to ask now because you said Schiller Park.
Mhm.
Right next to Franklin Park, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Schiller Park is. Okay. So my aunt owned for like 5 years the Rose Bowl that was on 25th Avenue in Franklin Park. It was across the street from, there was a Yankee Doodle Dandy restaurant. And I was just wondering if you ever remember seeing that or not. But
I think so. I haven't been there in so long.
yeah, well, it's gone now. So when she sold it, they tore it down. But
I mean, I went back in, I'm going to say 92 or so to visit my dad.
Mhm.
And yeah, everything's changed. The corner where I used to hang out, there's a Walgreens now. There's a Wendy's on the other side, and it's just not the same.
Yes, the corner I used to hang out on is a Target. Which used to be rock and roll McDonald's, or no, punk rock Dunkin' Donuts was there.
Yeah.
And that's gone now. But
Punk Rock Dunkin' Donuts.
yeah, but Belmont and Clark, man, that's Punkin' Donuts where all the weirdos hung out. And now it's a Target and some other garbage.
Jeez.
Everything's different. Anyway, model kits. So how'd you get started? What was your first kit? Who bought that for you? How old were you when you became interested?
We're going back, way back.
Yes, we're going back.
This is 1962. Okay, I think I was 8, and I did the Aurora Frankenstein. Started right there. I started with the Frankenstein. Sorry, I left my compressor on. And I went all the way through to Godzilla, I think. Painted them all. And then after that, I have a background in 2D art and music and stuff. So I kind of left the model thing go for probably 10 years. And then I got back into it probably around 77. And I picked up some Dungeons and Dragons, little 25 millimeter guys in some hobby shop that I kept driving back and forth. I was living in Tucson, driving back and forth to work, and I kept seeing this hobby shop, and I'm like, I gotta go in there. Just, I haven't been in one in so many years. And I thought those were cool. And, they had those rotating, with the blister cards on them.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of Lord of the Rings characters too, which I was heavily into that. So I bought a few of those, and I had acrylic paints from painting, so I started painting the figures in acrylics right away. And I kind of sidestepped the, testers and enamels again,
I remember painting, I had D&D scorpions, painting them with like that enamel, like tan color, and just.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Try to do a blend with that stuff. It's like,
yeah.
But yeah, so that got me back into it. And then I went back to Chicago in 78, went to college. I majored in film directing, editing, and film production. But I figured as soon as I got there that I realized how good everybody was, that I better have a fallback, right? And so I said, well, maybe I can get in the model shop. So I started painting hardware and really tricking them out and putting lights in them and, really elaborate stuff. And I do an Enterprise, which took forever, and then I wouldn't like it. And I'd do another one. And sometimes I do something 3 times before I was happy with the outcome, And so that led to getting back into model building. And then in 86, I was in a hobby shop and I came across the Billiken Bride of Frankenstein. So that was my first, not garage kit, but first figure kit.
Yeah.
That was the first one. And then we moved back to Arizona in 88. And our apartment was really close to this hobby shop. So it was a comic book store too. So I went over there and I noticed that they had these window displays. And they were using like the Horizon Spider-Man, the Green Goblin, or something like that, with the current issues of Spider-Man in the windows, trying to do this kind of cool display. So I thought that was really cool. So I got to be close with one of the managers, and then he introduced me to the owner. turns out they had 5 stores. And this is back in the 90s, early 90s. So that was kind of the resurgence of comic.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything was, kind of on the upswing. So I said to him, I said, I can, the guy that's doing this, I was really cocky. I said, I can blow this guy away. I can do a great window for you. All I want to return are kids. I just want to trade because I couldn't afford to buy all.
Yeah.
So I did, over the course of a couple of years, I did 3 different big window displays for him. And I got kits, and that's when I started building all the Horizon kits and the Screaming kits and, all that stuff. So that started that part of it. And I continued to do that. Now, obviously, the film work died about 5-6 years earlier than that. I didn't get any film work in Chicago. You really had to go to Los Angeles to make anything of yourself. And anyway, so I was back in Tucson, and back in Phoenix, and these people would come up to the windows and they'd say, "Well, who painted this? Who did the modeling?" So they were asking me about that. So I got some cards made. And then I said, give these to people when they ask. So that's when I started doing my first commissions, probably about 95, I guess, and they were all local commissions. And then, let's see, after that, and we moved into this house in 2001. This is all connected, guys. So
no, I want to talk about, pause right there for 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
The comic book shops, how I don't think people are just getting into the hobby now that's where I got a lot of my kits too in the early 90s. A lot of the hobby shops weren't carrying that stuff. And it was, you would have to go to a comic shop. They were even carrying like Max Factory, like Guyver kits and Godzilla kits that the hobby stores wouldn't get. So I am right there with you with getting a lot of my stuff from comic shops. Like today, I get a lot of my paints and stuff from gaming stores rather than an actual hobby shop. So it's just an interesting like crossover, which
I think it was
how
because
things have changed.
They were making superhero kits.
Yeah, there were a lot of superhero kits back then.
That pulled them into the comic book stores.
Yeah,
and I know that Saul, I've talked to Saul a million times, and I think it was Midwest Comics that he started, painting stuff there or for people.
Yeah,
and that's how he got it.
Midtown, I think it's Midtown.
Midtown, right?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So and you see that. I mean, this story is pretty universal with a lot of the guys. They had, Jim Capone and Steve Park, and a lot of the guys. They have art backgrounds, that kind of transitioned into the hobby at some point. Because it was we all love fantasy, we all love sci-fi, and it just all kind of filters into each other and crosses over. So so that was let's see, where are we?
Move there to that house.
Now we're getting closer to 2000. 2002, we moved into this house and I built this studio, and I felt like at that point I could do it full time. So the first thing I needed to do was have a dedicated studio, because I was working in this little tiny, it was 8 by 10 maybe room, it was tiny, and it was getting more and more congested as I built because there was nowhere to put anything. So, and I should add, my ex-wife was a sculptor and a painter, so that's what she did. So she kind of understood what I was doing, and when I wanted to build a studio, she was okay with it. So that all worked out. And then I was online. I was getting ready to do a kit, a Takea alien, the big chap alien, and I was going to do kind of a diorama around it. So I found a really cool picture of an alien, and I saw this. I think it was called Garage Kit Monkey or Giant Monkey. It was Phil Serra's, site or his page.
Yeah.
So I contacted him and I said, "Hey man, I really like that. I'm working on this." And then him and I became friends online. And this is when, this is almost MySpace time. We both
Phil, another Chicago guy.
Yeah. And he's a great guy. And
I like Phil a lot.
Amazing artist. And he was very helpful. He got me into showing my work more. He told me about the clubhouse. He told me about Wonderfest. And he's like, you got to go to this. You got to go to this. And that was '03. And then I went '04. And I think since then I've missed two.
Okay.
You know, I went just
Yeah.
about it. So that
So
was
you never found the Gremlins page online or any of that?
It's so weird. It was like later on when people talked about it, I was like, I can't believe that I never, stumbled onto
Yeah.
that. I did later, but not
Mhm.
Or in the
back
beginning.
then.
Yeah.
You know,
So you didn't hit the early magazines either, the early AFM and the early Kit
not
Builder.
the too earlys. I mean, in the middle of the '90s, I was subscribed, I think, to AFM. I knew Kit Builders, Modelers Resource, Fine Scale Modeler. What's the one that Fred DeRuva
He was Modeler's Resource.
Modelers
Modelers
Resource,
Resource?
yeah.
I think Phil wrote for him for a while
Mhm.
too. He did some articles because I remember he was doing a life-size golem at some point, and he was
I
sending me
remember that.
pictures of it, and then it popped up in there. But yeah, that was kind of it. I got very fortunate, as a lot of people do. I met the right people at the right time. I bumped into Ron Sherwood at my first Wonderfest, and I was sitting outside on one of those stinky, crappy little couches at the old bar, afraid to go into the bar because I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find Phil, and we didn't have phones back then to call each other to say, hey, I'm here. So I sat there till 12 o'clock at night.
And you didn't know what people look like sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
You just
that was
knew
so-
their online name from the clubhouse, or you didn't know, and you just like, wait, you're that guy? Holy crap.
Yeah, Phil sent me a picture from the year before, the couch picture,
Yeah.
drew a circle around him and said, that's, but then I didn't know any of those guys.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I'll try again tomorrow. I don't have the balls just to walk in here and not know anybody and start talking to people.
I'm the same.
So I got in the elevator and I go to get up, and this little wiry guy gets in, and we start talking, and he's like, and at that point, that's when I had started getting some traction on the clubhouse. I had done a bunch of future model kits,
Uh-huh.
and had kind of tricked them out, and because I was trying to develop, some interest. So when I started commission work, I could get jobs.
Yeah.
And so he said, who are you? And I said, John Alred. And he goes, are you the guy that did that Operation in Progress? And I said, yeah. And he stopped the elevator, and we went back down. That was Ron Sherwood.
Uh-oh.
And he walked me in to the bar, and he introduced me to him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Ron's a great guy. Ron is
Yeah,
a really great guy.
I just talked to him not too long ago, and he's doing, he had the operation.
Yes. How is he okay?
Yeah, he's doing better.
Okay.
But yeah, it was that was one of those pay it forward moments for me,
Yeah.
where I always remember that. Whenever I see him, I thank him.
Yeah.
Every time. So it just I always felt like it was important to pay it forward, especially in those days when people were still trying to break in, and trying to get in and trying to, be part of it. And so whenever I found an opportunity to do that with somebody, or share something with somebody, or, help them out or encourage them, I would do that. So that was kind of a, landmark moment for me with him and doing that. So then the next year, this is '05 now, I started writing for Kit Builders, and I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years. Did 6 or 7 articles for them. And then after that, the commission work just kind of started moving forward and just kind of exploded. It just went. I stayed busy and I'm just, it's information. I stayed busy for about 10 years without a break. Continual work, and work from people all over the world. I mean, I got, Hong Kong and Australia and France and UK and, Mexico and Canada, and just all over the place. It just kind of all came together right then. So I was able to maintain that for almost, till now. So, and it's that thing, I remember, Jason, you talking about on the show about, I believe you were saying, how you didn't like commission work, you didn't care for it. And I think you have to have a certain mentality for it.
Yeah.
You really do. And you have to, and I'm not saying that you don't, but it helps, like anything else, to try to look for something in each job that you can learn
Yeah.
or become better at, as a painter. I mean, after you painted 20 Hulks, right?
Well, actually, I'm going to put that picture up. What for me, it's more. Let me find that. Here's your Hulks. Where'd it go? There it is. For me, it was more. It ate so much time. Like I like doing it. It's the time. It was ruining the hobby that I once loved.
Right.
You know what I mean? It took away from doing. And I get what you're saying. I totally understand that. That try and learn. And I did that for a while. Like I painted probably 30 Superman kits for this one guy. And it's like, I can't do another Superman. I'm sure you feel the same with Hulks. I can't. Oh, Scott, let's do it. You ready? You know
Not
what I'm
yet.
going to ask.
Finish your
I
thought
ask?
first.
Okay. But
finish your thought first.
Because
it came to my head instantly.
All right. Yes. All right. So, that's what ruined it for me, was having to do things that I necessarily didn't like,
Right.
but just that I didn't then every waking moment. Because when you have a full-time job as well, every waking moment is then going towards painting stuff for other people. And
Exactly.
I'd much rather at this point, and I do them once in a while still,
Mhm.
usually almost as gifts, as friends. Like if a friend says, hey, will you do this for
Right,
me? Like
right.
that kind of thing. And it really helped when I was on my own trying to make ends meet in the city. It helped, like painting models for people. Like I don't regret that at all. But there's a good, like you said, like 10 years of time of commission work. Like if I go look at my collection, there's a gap. It stops at, like, you can tell like what kid it stops at and where it picks up again. And you could base it on the years there. And for people who aren't painters that do send stuff out for commission stuff, it's hard. I want those people that are paying like you, or paying any painter, that it is a hard job. It might look like fun at first, but after a while it wears on you. It does. And I'm to see that you were able to sustain it for that long is crazy.
It is crazy.
Well, I used to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
You're never wrong, Scott.
well, now this is why you're on right now. Okay. But anyway, you did hear it. Jason, you did have that recorded?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do it, and that's with anything, because, I've done some casting for people and that gets old. I'm now printing for people sometimes and I want to shoot myself. So it's,
the painting turned into printing for people.
Yeah. So, but what I used to say, and I've used you, John, as an example many times, is this guy treats it like a business.
Yep.
Okay. Like a job. He gets up in the morning. I'm sure yes, it's a little lax. You can take an hour to have your coffee. You can take 2, whatever you want, but you probably went into your studio most days and worked a certain amount of hours, and said, okay, that's enough, and lived life normal, where, like Jason says, a lot of these guys had full-time jobs and are trying to do it. It had to be hard.
It's ridiculous. And raising kids too, on top of that.
Yes.
Yes. We don't have any kids. My girlfriend, Terry, we've been together for 11 years. She walked into the house when we were dating and she loved everything about it. So it's like, well, he's the one, obviously. But
what was her when she first walked in? Because I have a similar story here. What was the first thing she said when she saw a lot of this stuff?
Well, here's how this all went down.
Yeah, I would like to hear this story.
Married for 33 years, and I got divorced. I was 58. So I got to start dating at 58. And that's like a what the.
Yeah.
Right. So
I rolled my stuff up and said, "Forget it. I'm out. I'm going to go be a hermit."
Well, I said I need a neutral zone in this house. I need a place where if somebody came over, I could entertain and it didn't have monsters and superheroes and all this crazy shit hanging around.
Advice
So-
I never took myself.
So the upstairs living room, dining room was the neutral zone. Downstairs was another story. You know, when you walk out in that door,
Yeah.
you know, it's another story down here, and we kept it public private like that. So and one of the bedrooms upstairs, that was the horror suite. I had all my horror stuff in that room, and it took a long time to get all that stuff in there, get the room set up, the lighting, recarpeted, repainted it, redid the doors, everything. It was a very cool looking room, and had all my prints and you know, actual paintings I've had commissioned in there. And when Terry came over and I took her in there and she looked at the Frankenstein and the Bride piece from what's his name? See, I'm going to be bad with names today.
Daniel Horn.
Daniel Horn. Right.
That's what Scott's here for. He remembers names.
Thank you. And she saw that in there. She goes, well, that should be above the fireplace. You know, and it's like, that was it again. You know,
Yeah.
Jason was like, yeah, right there. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, that should be above the fireplace. And that's where it's been for 10 years now.
That's cool.
So, yeah,
So-
I got lucky.
So one photo you didn't provide us that I remember.
Mhm.
Uh-oh.
You're gonna hate me. When you had all the kits in the bathtub of was it a
Oh,
spare?
yeah. It's the ones, you know, that I bought and I didn't even get to yet. You know what I mean?
And they were piled, and I remember you showed the picture, and they're piled in the bathtub. It's like,
The thing where I said, are you a resin junkie?
was it? Okay, yeah.
You have this problem?
Oh my God, I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, Jesus.
Because I had nowhere else to put any more stuff at that point. You know, I didn't put them in the garage. I didn't, you know, there was just stuff everywhere. And then when you start getting commission work, you've got all that stuff too.
Mhm.
You know, because I would stay booked out 4 to 6 months in advance for years. And so you'd have a lot of stuff that you had to store, you know, and people would send stuff and say, hey, just when you have time, do it, which was great.
There's
because-
never time.
But when somebody canceled, I could
Yeah.
just pull up a job and say,
Yeah.
hey, you know,
So here's a quick question, and it's a good question for anybody that does commission work.
Mhm.
You've mentioned you ship everywhere.
Yep.
Okay. So when you do a kit for somebody,
Mhm.
you almost have to make it, I'm sure, so that parts of it come apart, but still fit together seamlessly when they put it back together, and it's packed so nothing breaks and all that. That seems to me like that would be a harder task than actually building and painting the kit sometimes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's a lot of the stuff they don't see
Mhm.
that a client doesn't know about. And when you give them price, you know, a lot of painters won't pack that into their price, which they should. Because like you're saying, sometimes that'll take a full day, maybe 2 days. And while you're building it, you have to re-engineer it to go together, to take the photographs so they can see it, to take it apart, to box it, to wrap it, so they can get it and put it back together as one piece.
Mhm.
And so many of these, or the earlier stuff was never designed that way. There weren't magnets back then, or pins, or, you know, just keys,
Yeah.
I should say keys. And we had to pin them,
Mhm.
you know, and now, you know, I mean, I think I started doing magnets about 12 years ago because I had gotten some statues, some of the first statues that had magnets in them. And I thought, man, this is like genius. You know, you can do switch outs, you can have multiple heads, you can do whatever you want. So I started doing that pretty early on, and that helped a lot as far as the packing goes.
Well, you have some pictures that kind of help illustrate this a little bit. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm going to throw this one up first.
All right.
The Silver Surfer
Uh-huh.
hand, where he's standing in the hand.
Right.
How do you ship that? Like once that's done for somebody. So what size, just so people, they see you standing next to it, but what,
It was just
what's-
under 5 feet.
and how much does it weigh?
It was somewhat hollow cast. It wasn't solid, thank God, because I wouldn't have been able to lift it. But now that's the difference between garage kits and statues, and we have to make that distinction. a lot of the companies, the small statue companies, kit producers, they'll do, say, a 50-piece run. I'm not talking about Sideshow or Prime One or XM or any of those. Just a guy that has some disposable income and he wants to do a couple pieces that haven't been done the way he wants them done. So he'll do 50 pieces. Out of the 50, 10 will be kits. 10 will be just primed and ready for paint. That's the one that my client will send to me. So it's already keyed, it's already magnetized, it already has the custom box with the custom foam inserts.
Okay.
So that to me is actually great because I don't have to do all the BS.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to paint it, put it in its, its custom slot and, put it back in its shipper and mail it. So that made parts of the job a lot easier, as things went on.
Gotcha.
I remember when you were painting that, just looking at it, going, Jesus, how does he move that thing to get everything?
Oh, you mean the surfer? I know. It was like
That's a
the
great
surfer,
question.
and
How
then
do you move that?
the Galactus hand, just to get the bottom and then get the
What I did
palm.
was I have a small like a garage chair, for like working on a car or something.
Mm-hmm.
Big 6 wheels on it. And it was just a stool at that point. I didn't put the back on it. So it just so happened that the hand fit right on the stool, right? And I could turn it either way. And then I could move it around and I could still get it, over to near my airbrush in my paint booth. So it was just, finagling it like that, because you had to paint it from the bottom. You had to do the bottom first and then turn it around and paint the top.
Is this Galactus bust part of that, or was it?
Oh, that's a sideshow.
Separate one? Okay.
Piece? Yeah, that's a repaint of a Sideshow piece. It's called the Legendary Scale, so it's probably not even 1/3.
Okay.
I mean, Galactus is huge.
I have one. It's actually, that's a beautiful piece.
It is a beautiful piece. I was just gonna say.
It is. That was Italian sculptor sculpted that. I can't think of his name. He did like the Doctor Doom on the throne for them, and some of the really early stuff.
Yeah, I was mad I didn't get the early one with the nameplate because I think they had their special editions where you get the nameplate and that crap. But I did buy this because I just really liked it, and it's a little stylized from the comics, but it's not bad. I mean, I'm a stickler on the comic stuff.
Right. I know. I grew up on the Marvel. I was in the Silver Age Marvel when it started. All this stuff.
You should read Scott's post to Wicked.
Oh man,
Scott went nuts. For people,
you go nuts.
You went nuts. There's Wicked, the 3D print company that does a lot of DC, Marvel, and all that stuff, was coming out with the death of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, they're doing the last panel of Spider-Man 121, where she's dead and he's holding her and he's shaking his fist.
Right.
And so they say they're going to do that. And I'm like, understand now, John, Spider-Man 121 and 122 to me are two of my favorite comic books of all time. Okay. And I'm like, oh, they're going to screw this up because they do everything very hyper detailed.
Right.
Because they're not appealing to baby boomers. They're appealing to younger people that are used to seeing the movies and all that. So go ahead, Jason. Go ahead. What did I do?
So Scott just went nuts on him and said, "You better not blah 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 add all these details and da da da." It was like a paragraph long.
And it's like,
oh my god, I don't know
because they like to do the raised webbing,
right,
and the textures, and
make it look modern, which you shouldn't. I agree.
So they did still put texture in the costume.
Oh, you yelled about the logo. That's what it was.
And the logo, I told them, don't use that shit logo. It was a new logo. I said, use the one from that era comics. So the guy said, well, do you have a picture of it? And I said, yeah. And I sent it to him, and they did use it. So
but that's interesting then, though. The guy didn't even know the original logo, what it looked like?
You'd be surprised. Honestly, you'd be surprised. When I was doing prototype work for a small company, Hollywood Collectibles Group, then they had some great licenses. They had some great pieces. And, but, we'd had to deal with a lot of these studios, right? And You'd be amazed how much they don't know about the character that they're spending millions of dollars on.
Yep.
And the
Hey,
just
you know what?
yes, we had to go through to get accurate pictures from them, color references, things like that. When you're doing a prototype for somebody like that, you have to realize that on the pyramid of things that are important, you're like below the pyramid. You're not even on the pyramid. So
Yeah.
they've got all this stuff, they're dealing with millions of dollar decisions all day. So you wanting to get an accurate color on a little piece of work that they're only going to see a percentage of is not high on their list.
No.
So sometimes I'd have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to get a 2-letter email to say, yes, that looks good. So that's one reason I don't do any work like that anymore. Not that anybody's offered, but still it was like when the movie's scheduled and it's ready to come out and it's going to be released, that means that the merchandise has to be released at a certain time, in order to be effective and to be bought. So you have to drop everything you're doing now and you have to paint that.
Yeah.
And that's what I got from them all the time. It was like, but I've got 3 other clients lined up. No, you gotta do it right now.
Yeah.
So like I said, I did that for a while, but then I was like, I can't do that anymore. It's too disruptive and too,
I can sympathize. I talk to Tony Cipriano quite often.
Yeah, Tony, yeah.
And I won't mention the companies, but he works for a few companies, and the changes they want sometimes, and the stuff they're looking for, and it's he's like, he's doing a 3-inch figure, and they're hitting him about the eyes are too far apart, and it's like, fuck's gonna see it, okay? And it's like, and then when you deal with certain licenses, and I'm sure you went through this maybe with the Hollywood collectible, first you got to go through the company, then the studio, and then if the family's still involved, like when he did the X Plus Dracula, first X Plus had to like it, then Universal has to like it, and then the Lugosi family has to like it.
Right.
Okay. And sometimes by the time he gets done, if you just saw the original sculpt, you'd go, why they mess with it? But everyone thinks they're an art director, and they get in there and it's like,
there's a good story there. I hope one day we're allowed to tell it about that. Like, well, officially.
I know a lot of guys who do, prototype for big companies. Yeah. And it turns out it's painting by commission or by what's the word? Painting by
number?
Committee.
Oh, committee, yeah.
It really is. Very few things that you paint actually end up in the box looking the way you painted it for them. It gets to them, they make changes, they change colors, they might redo the eyes, you know what I mean? So they're, it's really not, it's a community thing. And if you can't get behind it that way, you shouldn't be doing it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. How does that make you feel? Like you send something and then they change it. When the first time that happened, how did you react? Was it?
Well, see, I got really lucky with that company because it was so small.
Yeah.
They would, the brief that they would give you is hit it out of the park and we'll try to get the factory to get 80% to what you did.
Okay.
And if they can get that far, then that's going to be a pretty good prepaint.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. So they weren't bad that way, but it was when it had to go to a person at the studio. Like one of the nice things about it was like when I did a lot of stuff for Rocky and Rambo, Sylvester Stallone, and those have to go right to him. He has to pick up his phone and go, ugh.
Yeah. That was a good impression, actually. That's well done. Well done.
What I did, which was kind of cool. So I knew at least he actually kind of looked at a few of them. But that was a good experience. I wanted to do it because I wanted to have a sense of what it was like, to actually do that kind of work.
Can we go back to the Galactus and the Silver Surfer for 1 second? These are some great metallics. Do you have any recommendations on metallic paint? For colors? Because everyone, when they think metallics, they think silver, gold, bronze. And it's hard to come up with some good colored metallics. Do you have any good ideas? Grabbing them.
Right. We can talk about him now. He's not here.
Oh,
Don't. He's back. Darn
shit.
it.
Well, yeah, you've got your all clad, right?
Okay.
I used on those, but I have used, these are Artesia. Okay.
Artesia. Okay.
Is that backwards or right side up?
Yeah, that's right. It's right.
No,
I
it's
got it
coming
right.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ortiz.
these are, they're just metallic acrylic paints, but you can mix them with a airbrush medium, and they hold up really well.
Cool.
They're really tough. The one I'm working on now, the Witchblade, that's what I'm using on there. I'm not using,
Artesia.
because all clad it's kind of conditional. You have to be careful. It's real easy to rub it off, even after you polish it. You have to watch your fingers. You can have it on your fingers, and then you pick up something else, and now it's on the part. You know what I mean? Even if you seal it, and if you seal it, it changes its look. It doesn't keep that pure chrome look, as far as my experience with it. So I did use on some of those surfers, to answer your question, I did use this as opposed to
Cool.
all clad, but all clad is the kind of go-to all for get the best reflective quality from them. From chrome paint, I think.
But then, like you say, then it's fragile for the rest of its life.
It's
basically.
problematic. It is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like that Nosferatu I did, and I did that dead black on his cup. It looks great, but you can't handle it. You can't really touch it. So what's the point?
I have never used Alred for any ever that I think about it.
It's,
I've
you
never
have
used
to,
it.
you have to prime, then you have to put down a gloss black,
Yeah.
put it on, and you don't have to put it on heavy, and then you have to buff it out with a real soft piece of cotton. I just got cotton gloves, and I'd wear them so I could just take my finger. You know what I mean? It was a lot.
Yeah. Because I remember my friend did like the Gray Zone Terminator skull. Tom did this way back when, and he used Alred for it. And I was like, that sounds like a pain in the butt. I'm never using that.
It is. Believe me, it is. But the finish is fantastic.
Yeah, the finish is great, but
and like him,
all
the Silver Surfers, I have to wrap them in like an old cotton shirt or something. You can't wrap them in regular wrapping, bubble wrap. They'll scratch the finish.
Well, Scott, do you want to have this conversation now?
Okay. So
Let's
we're going
do
to
it.
go back to the Hulk for a minute.
We're going back
John.
to the Hulk.
Okay.
So I'm going to put your big Hulk picture up.
There's no right answer on this, but you better agree with me.
Well, no, he does agree with you. So, John, you have painted every Hulk incorrectly, in my opinion.
Here we go.
Thank you.
And this is a fight.
I think they're beautiful, John. I think they're beautiful.
This is a fight that Scott and I have had for years. It's come up on the show, but even before we did the show, this is a knockdown fight that we have.
Okay.
The gums. The Hulk's gums should be green
You're
always.
Right. You're right, but this is not my call. It's the client's call.
Damn them!
And see, most of the clients know what they're doing. That's all I'm saying.
But
Okay.
see,
the thing with any of this is that you have to realize whatever you're looking at, the commission piece, it's always based on what the client wants, not what I want or what's particularly accurate, to the character.
So if you were going to paint a Hulk for yourself, what color would his gums be?
I would probably, I like the contrast of the
That's what everyone says.
I was just going to say that. I was looking at that picture you sent Jason of you next to the one Hulk kit. And you can just see the gum color, and I'm like, yeah, it brings it out.
Yeah, it makes it pop, that whole area.
Yes.
I get it. I get it.
But no, you're right. You're right about that. And I've painted them green before, but probably way, 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 way back.
Yeah.
Because even all the companies have painted them, gum color for the most part.
So for a typical Hulk, do you have a good recipe to share for people? Like if you do want to do a straight green, is there a green that you like to go Hulk wise personally?
I don't do anything. Let's see, how can I describe this? I used to do fine art screen printing. I used to work in a lot of different graphic shops. And when we did fine art screen printing, we would do maybe 150 colors on each piece, in addition of 200, 150, 200 colors sometimes. And all the colors had to be mixed by hand. So I learned I can mix any color by hand just by looking at it.
And that was like with that stuff. That ink is thick.
Yeah,
it's not
like putty. Yeah, it's almost like thin putty.
Yeah.
See all those colors you have behind you there, Jason?
Yep.
I've got 12 colors. And that's all I need to
Yep.
make everything. So what I do a lot with Hulks, and I do this a lot, I layer the colors. I start with, obviously we prime them, but then I paint them yellow. And then I go in and I start misting with a medium green. And that medium green is based on that yellow. The yellow is the main color, and I'll pour a little green, a little blue into that and start to change it and mist that over. You know what I mean? So you've still got that yellow undertone. That's what makes it look so cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you can start working with the muscle groups, right? You can still because you're looking at this is two-dimensional art. When you think about, like, you look at your head or my head, and you see the highlight, and then you see that it gets darker. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
We're working with forms, color and form. And you want the highest part to show a little bit of that yellow. And then as you go down into the shadows, you want the darker greens. So that's how I approach stuff. It's never just lay down a color.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
layers of color creating one color, but creating depth at the same time. And I think most of the, you know, like the really good painters, I think they approach it like that too. A lot of washes, a lot of sponge work, a lot of little things, lots of spatter, things you don't necessarily see, but it makes the whole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It gives it some life and some depth.
Well,
And
while
that's
we're, go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that just goes from being a 2D artist and a painter. And, you know, I was all through high school and grade school, I was, you know, I did really well in art and, you know, all that stuff. And I was going to major in fine art in college, but I did one semester and it was like, talk about, you know, little fish in a big pond, boy. It was like,
Oh yeah.
these people were so good.
Yeah.
You know, you really get put in your place like that. You know,
Yeah.
That's how I feel about guys like you and Capone and Riojas.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And now Anya. And it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the company, by the way.
I hate those guys. I hate those guys.
Those are my heroes. You know, but the thing that was interesting though, that I was thinking about, because I've watched, you know, a lot of your interviews, is that all of us started kind of the same. You know, we were drawing, or we were playing with little soldiers, or we were doing this or that, you know, and we were painting models, and then we kind of transgressed into this, and maybe we used to paint, you know, two-dimensionally, like Jim Capone and
Yeah.
a couple of the other guys, Steve Park, you know, Steve Park's like a Renaissance guy. You know, he can do all these different things.
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, I think it all kind of coalesces back into what, when we pick up a model, we start painting, all those techniques and all that experience kind of comes into it, you know.
Well, while we're on the subject of art brain,
Uh-huh.
it takes a good art brain to take good pictures. And I'm glad you sent this picture that kind of shows how you take good pictures. I always feel like I try new things when taking photographs of my work.
Uh-huh.
I am never happy with anything. Any tips for people who are trying to photograph their work well
Oh God, yeah,
for
yes.
stuff?
One of the biggest things Jeff and I back in the day would talk about, Jeff Camp, was that somebody would do a good paint job and they'd take a terrible picture, and then they'd, you know, like on the clubhouse,
Yeah,
and they would complain that nobody commented, and it's like, well, you're doing yourself a disservice by not learning the basics of photography, you know, and having a neutral background that doesn't clash with the colors that you're presenting in your kit, and having proper lighting, a lighting that's balanced, you know, for neutral balanced lights, you know, that aren't casting a warm or a too cold type of, you know, because they will actually change the color temperature on your kit.
Yeah.
You know, and then your camera will read the change in color temperature and it will compensate for it, which actually throws it off more, you know, the other way. Because if it's too blue, well, we got to get it back to the red. You know, so then you look at it and it's all messed up. So I actually, on the clubhouse, I put together a basic photography thing. I don't know if it's still on there,
I'll have to go look. I can find a
but
link
it
real
was on the helpful tips and stuff,
quick. Okay.
and Jeff did one too. And it's really that, it depends on what you're trying to get across. If you're trying to get across the paint job and what you worked on, or you're trying to get across an emotion, those are two different types of photography. Because I will always, not always, but a lot of time I'll put a different background in, with the character, so he's in an actual environment, just to see how well it works.
Mhm.
And
Because I noticed in this picture, I noticed you have a red filter, a
I'm
red
not
either
sure
a
which
gel or
one you're
red bulb.
filming because I can't see it. So
I'm sorry, it's the photograph of Rogue with your camera work on there and stuff. Yeah, there's a red light in there with it. Do you do a lot of coloring, adding like colored light to pictures sometimes?
sometimes I want to do a dramatic thing, but I
Right.
don't. I would never send any of. See, when I send the finished pictures to my client, I'll shoot like 25 pictures.
Yeah.
But I'll get it down to like 7 or 10 tops. They don't need more than that to get the,
Yeah.
it's done and they're happy with it. Really.
I agree.
So I'll do that. And then I'll do one kind of dramatic shot, just for, it's like, here's a really cool shot for you, for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think they get off on that. And they enjoy it. And I go the extra mile to do that for them, so they have this cool.
You have a camera
Yeah.
recommendation by
I
chance?
have a 13-year-old Nikon.
That's okay.
It's a D6, I think, and it's a good camera.
I was
And
gonna say, how many megapixels? I still got my 4 megapixel Olympia.
it's 24 megapixels.
24 meg. Okay.
But
I got my fiver, my 5-banger.
Yeah. Sometimes I still use my phone. Some things I can just work with my phone and good lighting.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in a hurry, I don't always use the Nikon.
Yeah.
But if it's something that I want a lot of depth of field, like the Silver Surfer in the hand, and you've got different depths of field and you've got different things you're trying to show at the same time. But the depth of field is different. The lighting will affect that. Sometimes I'll shoot multiple exposures.
Yeah.
Shoot for the hand, then I'll shoot for the surf. And then I'll go into Photoshop and I'll put the two together.
Gotcha. That works. I use a program I found on my phone. I don't know, maybe you use this called Snapseed. Have you seen that ever? I think it's a Google product. I may be mistaken, but you can run it does a really good job at fixing white balance and color correction. So for people who are taking a lot of pictures with their phone, I would recommend Snapseed as an app to kind of run your pictures through, and it will kind of automatically fix some things for you and clean them up a little bit without changing what you've actually done. It'll just kind of enhance what you have done. So.
Right. And, that's the deceiving thing about photography. I learned a long time ago that whatever you show in a photograph has to be exactly the same thing that your client opens up.
Yeah.
And put on the shelf. It can't look better and it better not look worse. You know what I mean? And a lot of the times, when you see a close up of something, you got to remember that people are looking at these. See, I've got a 34-inch wide screen here, right? It's like a gaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I blow up a quarter scale or 1/6 scale head, you can see every frickin' flaw in the world. It's blown up as big as my head on my screen.
Well, we're going to do that in a second, actually, because I grabbed the picture.
That's probably the worst thing about technology is that that your client's doing that too. And they're going, oh, the iris right over here seems to be bigger than.
Yeah, and it's, what, John? It's like that in 3D printing too, okay? Because what happens is you'll blow it up in a slicer, okay? And you'll see flaws that are probably never going to show, okay? And an example, I'm printing these ballerinas for the latest.
Oh, right.
Okay, for the latest Jaeger kit, okay? If I blow this up, there's no facial detail in this thing.
Right.
Zip, okay? There doesn't need to be. Look how small it is. Okay.
That's with those googly eyes and stuff.
Yeah, throw some shadows in there or whatever. It's when it's going through the glass, it's gonna be fine. Okay. But if you blew that up, you you'd say, "Oh, that's horrible. That's a horrible skull."
No, I did the dragon from Game of Thrones. Somebody had commissioned a pretty big sized dragon, and they had a little tiny Daenerys, like this big, right, in scale.
The one on the pyramid? Is that what?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And I did the eye decal for that, and I did the signature plate, the edition plate for that job. And they shipped it to China, and the commissioner said, "Hey, man, they painted this Daenerys, but it looks like dog, face." So he sends it to me, right? And the face is smaller than my little fingernail, right? But I tried, I was in there with a toothpick.
Yeah,
doing the-
toothpicks work sometimes for that.
Yeah, so
The old style, old school toothpick.
just ding, ding, and
Yeah.
hope it works. But yeah, it gets ridiculous sometimes when people are blowing up stuff and looking at it. Jeff and I used to say, "Don't send them anything high res." So they blow it up.
Rob Madison used to tell me,
Trick. That's a good
Rob
trick.
isn't a big scene work guy. He'll do some,
Mhm.
but he's not a big scene work guy. But Rob would say, if you're that close to my kit, back up. Okay. Just
It's true. Now,
back up. Okay.
when I look at a kit when it's finished, I won't use magnifiers like this.
hmm
I'll just use regular, like these are my reading or my computer glasses. So I can see it from about 2.5 feet away.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to see it the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it looks good that way,
hmm
it's going to pass muster as far as I'm concerned.
So let me ask another question,
Yes, sir.
because I used to talk to Steve quite a bit,
Steve,
Riojas, and
he's a good man.
he is a good man.
Fantastic.
And he told me, man, these superhero guys are hard to please.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
they are.
Have you had that same experience where
Well, you've got
Well,
here's-
before you go, explain who the superhero guys are, because this is an inside conversation that I think a lot of people might not know.
well, so a lot of this is like you said, John, a lot of these guys make statues, real limited runs.
There's a
They're
whole
not
nother thing of
necessarily-
statue.
Yeah, it's a whole
people.
nother thing. It's real high end. I want to say it's high end, not to,
it is.
they pay a lot for their paint jobs. Okay, so they expect them to be what they want. Okay. And again, we agreed not to talk about money, but I'm just gonna say, I know you're not cheap. I know Steve's not cheap when it comes to painting that stuff.
Right.
You gotta pay for it. Okay.
Right.
But yet sometimes they wouldn't send him, they would send him like really bad reference and stuff like that. And he'd do his best, he'd match it. And then he'd say, yeah, but I don't know if I like this, and I don't know if I like this. And it would drive him nuts. Okay. And he'd show it to me, and I'd go, that looks great. I don't know what they're complaining about. So I just wondered if you had the same experience.
I do. And here's the thing with that, okay? And I'm going to be more specific about doing commission work. You have to vet your clients too.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get along with everybody. You're not. You're going to get along with 98%, hopefully, but there's going to be a couple guys, and you've got to learn. It's like listening to the little man in your head, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your little man he's right here. Just center of your heart. And if that feels wrong, probably shouldn't do it. Really, and that's what I do. I've fired clients before after a couple jobs, tell them I don't want to work with you anymore. It's nothing personal, but it is. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't feel good. And he's not getting what he wants, and neither am I.
Gotcha.
So, and what I try to do when I get a new client, I get him on the phone and I talk to him. I don't want to have all our relationship based on texts and written words. I want a sense of him as a person, what he sounds like, what he's into a little bit as a person, not just this. And if I can do that, I know it sounds complicated, but it gets easier and easier the more people you talk to.
Right. Well, and not to I'm not putting Steve down at all. Steve was not a comic book guy. He did not like doing superhero kits.
He's a monster man, you know. That's what.
And a dinosaur guy. Yeah, and dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah, dinosaur.
But he can do superheroes. I've seen him do some beautiful stuff, man. But
He can paint anything he puts his mind to, and
he just doesn't like it. Yeah. He just doesn't.
no, but that's indicative too of what happened over the last 12 years or so. When I started out, I rarely did a superhero. It was all monsters and fantasy characters. And then 2008, Iron Man came out and it all changed. And now I've kind of gone back to monsters, but for a 10-year run there, I did maybe 2 monsters a year and everything else was superhero. And to get back to what you asked, Scott, because, I go on. Superheroes are very hard to paint because it's one tight color right up against another tight color.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no easy transitions like on a Frankenstein or any of them. I mean, you can play with a monster. You can have fun with the colors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But superheroes are like, this has to be that has to be that, and that has to be that. So there's no room for error, and there's no room for error color-wise either. So yeah, they're a pain in the ass. It gets easy, but they're not the easiest thing to do, and they're not the most fun.
Mm-hmm.
As far as
I remember you did that Spider-Man a while back that I really liked.
Oh, thank you.
Because I remember asking you how you did the webs, and you sent me the link for the And
I got to tell you, Scott, that saved my life. I was pulling my hair out, as you can see, for years, trying to paint the webbing with a brush.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a what would you call it? Like a track, that's dug in there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not even. It's not like perfect. It's a microscopic, trench that you have to put a brush into and try to drag across the entire kit. There's webbing everywhere, and it has to be perfect, right? So it's very difficult to do and touch up on red. And you've got.
Wait, we missed. What did you buy? What are you using? You didn't.
Oh, it's I'll show you.
Scott, you didn't. What is it? What's the? Well, wait till he comes.
Oh, shoot! Yeah, he's gonna show you. He sent me the link, and I bought a set.
These are Indian ink.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
this is like for drawing. And you just find the tip that fits in the trench.
Gotcha. Cool.
You got
kind of like Gundam pens and stuff that they use for panel lines in the India.
I mean, this you got to get a set, and you got to get. Unfortunately, you can't buy just one. You have to buy them in sets. But you find one that fits that trench, and you buy like 3 sets, and you're good for probably 5 or 6 months before they run it. Cool. And what happens too is the tip starts to wear after a while.
Yeah.
Just from, being abused. But you can wipe it because it doesn't set. It's Indian ink. It's water. It's water soluble. So if you make a mistake, you just take it off.
Wipe it off. Thanks.
And then seal it when you're done. So it saved me days of time with this. Really.
Good. I have a question that I've always wondered about your workspace.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep it so clean? And how do you even, because if you sent a picture of your spray booth and your painting table, you have display cases literally right on the other side of that. Yep. What in the world are you doing that allows you to put display stuff in your same, because my place there's dust, there's paint, there's everything. What are you doing, man? How does this work?
Well, it's twofold again. After every job, I break down everything. I put down a new piece of paper, in front. I put new filters into the spray booth, and I just clean everything, especially on the bigger jobs, after every job.
Oh, wow.
Every once a month, I break down all the airbrushes and clean them, break them all down and clean them. Because I paint every day.
Yeah.
Almost every single day I'm in here working. So even on days where we've gone out and we get home a little early and I'm like, it's going to go in there for like an hour, and I'll be painting. So yeah, the stuff in the cases has stayed pretty well. The stuff that's exposed, about 3 years ago, we took every single piece. I've got 34 linear feet of, I can show.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
34 linear feet of action figures and stuff like that, and Captain America and all kinds of stuff over there that gets dusty. So we took everything down about 3 years ago and we cleaned everything and put it back up. And we do that about every 3 or 4 years.
Nice.
Well, I have a shelf of just junk above my area here.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. About once every year or two, I'll take it all down. And, people will say I'm crazy. Man, some of it I just take to the kitchen sink and just gently spray it off. And
I took kids in the shower before.
Yeah. And it's why not?
Hurt it. It's not going to hurt it, If you run it under the water really quick, first you dust it off, then you run it under the water, then you take a towel and just,
dab where you can. Yes.
Yeah.
Dab. Yeah.
I want to show some of these other buildups that you sent me. So this,
Sure.
The Fritz, I think it's Fritz and the monster.
Oh yeah,
together.
That's about my favorite piece.
Is it okay? Because I had some for people wondering what pictures we chose here. I asked John to send some of his favorite stuff to show and talk about. So, give us why is this your favorite piece? One of them.
Well, of course, the subject matter, obviously. I had a client for years that liked all the Universal stuff, and I did a lot of work for him. And this was kind of a culmination. We had this idea. I think Tucky did the Fritz, and I think Needful Things did the Frankenstein. And
I will confirm that. Yeah.
The surfing Frankenstein.
The Frankenstein is he has a background of the stairs and just a small bit of the wall. And I thought, well, let's extend this out, and make it part of the, kind of near the lab, but not in the lab type of thing. And, Fritz doing his, with the torch. And I contacted Matt, last name, can't think of it right now.
Morozic?
No, the guy that does all the lighting.
Oh, Lawrence.
Matt Lawrence. And I said, do you have a terror torch that I could use, to light this torch? So he got me one. Matt's a great guy, and he sent it to me like that. And then I had to cut a channel all the way through the model, all the way down into the floor, and then through the back for the battery pin, so you could turn it on and off. That was the only way to do it. And then I had to resculpt all that.
That's a big risk.
It was.
Yeah.
It was, but it worked, and it actually worked, and it looked really cool when it was put together. And then I had to sculpt that with the rest of that wall in that kind of, early 1930s, you know what I mean? Dr. Caligari.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. I thought it came out really nice. And, I don't.
Is it one of those you hated sending off because you wanted to keep it?
Exactly.
That's a good question. Does that happen a lot? Do you really get sad sending stuff sometimes?
Some stuff.
Other stuff you're like, get it out. I want it gone.
Well, I collect. I collect a lot of stuff. And the rule now is, one in, one out. So if I'm going to buy something, I have to sell something.
I have to teach my girlfriend that. Like that's
You have to teach yourself that. I don't know what you're
because my stuff, dude. She walks in the door with something every day. I'm like, what?
Well, there's with the clients over the years, it was either they changed jobs, they couldn't do it anymore. They had kids, they couldn't do it anymore, or they ran out of room.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm out of room.
I think I'm running out of time. That's the problem.
Well, now we're running out of time, Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. No one gets out alive. That's for sure.
That was the thing, to try to discipline. And it's impossible when you collect things to discipline yourself to just be happy with what you have. Because I have a theory about it. And here's the theory. It's not about the piece, it's about the chase. You see something, you like it, you want to get it, you order it, you wait for it. It gets here. You open it. You put it out. You look at it for like a week. Then it goes on the shelf with all the other shit.
Yep.
and you hardly even notice it anymore.
Yes.
And that's
You know what? I'm going to agree with you 100%. I've had a lot of
Yes.
things like that.
You know,
The first one was when I started out, I was just collecting Aurora kits back in the mid 80s. But I was through John F. Green list and all that. And so I started collecting Aurora kits, and I got most of them and the monsters in the cars. And I actually landed a King Kong's Thronester mint in a box, which I actually cast back then before that was all taboo and crazy. And the Godzilla's go-kart was the rare one. Still is. Okay, still is. I think the last one sold at auction for like $30,000, some crazy amount. But I ended up with a buildup from a guy, and it was complete. And it was so cool to have it. But it's almost anticlimactic then. When you get it, it's like, okay. Yeah, I agree 100%. The chase. And the problem with the chase is it's gotten too easy.
yeah. Well, now, yeah, it's even easier.
I collect these Dunross King Kong cards. And for years, maybe I'd go to a show and I'd see a sleeve of them and I'd buy them and trying to put together a whole set. And all of a sudden eBay comes along and now I can buy this card or, ooh, here's this batch with 3 cards I need. And so when I finally got the whole set, it was like, oh, okay, now what? It's
Right.
so yeah, I agree 100%. And real quick, I'm going to go back to those pens.
Mhm.
Pitt Artist pens, were the pens, I believe.
Mhm.
PITT.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
put a link
yeah.
up. I think.
And I sent you a picture of it, Jason, because
Okay.
I went back in my message with John when he sent me the picture of them.
All right.
And
This one I have here too, guys, is a Faber Castell. They're a pretty famous art company.
okay, yeah.
Faber Castell, and they make a good pen. The real thing with this is the tip. The tip has to be well made to hold up. You don't want to get halfway through and then your tip craps out on you. And if you have to change sizes,
My tip always craps out on me all the time.
Your tip. Yeah, I'm surprised you even have a tip
I know.
anymore.
Me too.
yeah, but that's the thing now.
Antibiotics fix that.
You were talking about, the availability of everything. Back in 2000, I had made this list of all the kits that I wanted to buy when I could afford it. And most of them were future model kits, and they were really hard to find back.
Yeah.
And
They're
they were
hard to
really-
find now, even harder.
Yeah, but they were really expensive too.
Yeah.
So I knew this guy, you might know him, I don't know his last name, Oliver. He was a German, and he had a connection in Japan. He knew this guy that had bought all the future model kits and
Yeah, I
didn't want
remember.
to. His name was Oliver something, but it was way back in the clubhouse days. And so he would hook me up with this guy, and I've got just about every future Artstorm model that was made. I sold a few of them.
Which one do you regret selling the most?
Well, I sold them to Josh Sieber. You know Josh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
He's a big future guy. And it was the, I can't think of the name of it. It was the Bird Warrior. That's really rare. He's got the sword up and he's got a bird head.
I know what you're talking about. It's a weird looking.
Yeah, and it's a
Yes.
weird name.
Yeah.
Too. But that's real hard. I mean, I've got stuff from Angles of Hunters, his book, and I've even got Oji-san, the old guy.
Mhm.
I've got the bust of him, and I've got Takiya's signature on the bottom.
Oh,
of that,
that's cool.
which is awesome. And I have Vampire from
Yep.
Narasaki, and I've got his signature on the back. Yeah, but and that's kind of what started for me, people noticing the work is when I started painting those. For some reason, I just really loved them. I'm just looking at
That
them
future stuff is like, that was what got me into it too. That's my favorite
I know,
company of all
I know.
time.
There was
And it's
yeah.
hard. There was a day, I remember, it was like the second Wonderfest or third Wonderfest I went to, when Kit Boy was there. Kit Boy had every future kit. And like we walked in that one Wonderfest and he had, and that's where I got my OIP. That's where I got, like, that weekend I dropped like $1,000 just at Kit Boy because he had all this future stuff, and then that went away and it became impossible to find some of that stuff.
Yeah, I was lucky getting that connection, because I was able, I had So many of them.
Let's talk about Thanos. This Thanos piece you sent.
Oh, is that the repaint?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Sideshow.
So Scott, is this the one you have, Scott, that you were showing me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys
It's
talk
a-
about this
it's
because
a
you know a lot
beautiful
more than I
piece.
do.
It's a beautiful piece, beautiful sculpture.
Yes, it is.
And base is just off, the throne is just off the charts. I really had a lot of fun painting that one. And he kind of the client gave me free rein with the base, but he wanted to go old school on the costume, more comic accurate, early comics, which it was a brighter blue and a brighter gold. So, yeah. And then, from there, it was just, like I said, having fun with the base. It was just because the base is actually a flying throne.
Did he have the alternate head too, or did he just have the one?
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
did
the
the other head too.
Yeah.
When I saw this piece, and it's stylized, it's not comic accurate at
Right.
all. Okay, it might be now. I don't know because I stopped comics in '92, but I'm a big fan of Thanos before Thanos was popular.
Mhm.
I read all the Jim Starlin, Captain Marvels, and Warlock, and all that stuff. So
Nerd.
whatever. But when I saw this, I was blown away by this sculpture,
Mhm.
and I said, I gotta have it. And it's one of the few big dollar
Right.
pre-paints that I've spent money on, and I'll still say that thing's beautiful. So it sat on my dining room table for about a month. Okay, and I had a spot for it in my den, but I didn't quite realize how big it was going to be.
Yeah, it's a big piece.
It don't fit there.
Yeah, these pictures do not give it justice. What is the dimensions on it?
Never do, yeah.
It's like it's like an infant. You can almost put an infant in the throne. Okay.
And it's heavy too. It's very heavy.
Oh yeah, it is. Yes, it is. So, and I had to send my alternate head had a chip in it, so they had to send me another one. But in order to send me another one, they made me break the one, and it killed me because I'm like, somebody could fix this, okay? And they literally make you smash it and take pictures and send it.
They do that, yeah. If they make you smash the whole kit if you want to.
And I used to keep it. I had it kept for a long time, wondering, can I put this back together? But I think I finally dumped it. I finally just said, just forget it. Okay, you're never gonna do it. Just what are you gonna do with it anyway? So it's.
I love your color choices. I love the contrast with that gold and the blue on that really weathered throne, and it really sets off the piece nicely.
Yeah, you've got a contrast between clean on him and then weathered on the.
And that blue, the blue looks so comic book. Like it just.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's a kind of a phthalo,
Yeah.
like, which is a very bright kind of happy blue. But that's where the painting monsters comes into play. Weathering stuff and making stuff for the base like that. That's where you can apply a lot of those washes and things like that.
This next one I want to talk about is the Batman picture you said. And
kind of bluish background.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it looks like a real person. Now, in a good way. It looks like somebody who, like, did they base an actor? Is this supposed to be a certain actor?
Sometimes they do just for likeness, but they're not saying it's that.
It looks like Lee Majors to me.
Okay.
You know what you should probably do? And I'm not saying this. This is probably based off Alex Ross art, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And I'll bet he based it off Lee Majors.
No, I'll bet you if you look at a picture of Alex Ross,
that's what I mean.
Just like a lot of sculptors do, when they sculpt faces, they'll look a lot like themselves.
Right.
Oh,
right.
And I wondered
if
it doesn't look
he's
like
a Chicago guy, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
But man, the skin tones there, the 5 o'clock shadow, that looks beautiful.
Thank you. It's funny because when you think about it, Batman is probably one of the easiest kits to paint because this is the only flesh tone in the whole thing, and it's all either black and gray or black and blue or black and yellow and blue or it's pretty easy to paint.
Yeah.
But the impact, and we could talk a little bit about that, is that one of the things that you realize when you do this is that people identify with the face first. That's your identification. And then they look at the rest. So it's very important to nail that first. You can nail that, you can probably pull off the rest of it fairly well. When you get into looking at different materials and how they reflect light, that's where you get more detailed with, this doesn't reflect any light. This reflects all kinds of light. So you start to think in those terms to make it look real. But if you get the face, you can kind of fudge the rest if you're not real good at doing that yet.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think this piece nails that exactly with what you're talking about. Because those eyes, the first thing I notice when you look at this is those eyes, they look human. Like there's that good reflection to it that makes you look like, oh, that's a person thinking. Like it looks like somebody. Looks not like somebody, but like a living person that would was about to move. And that's the first thing I go to when I look at that piece is his face. And then you start to work your way around. So
come on, what's the first thing I go to when I look at that piece?
I don't know.
The symbol on his chest.
Yes.
Is the symbol wrong?
No, it's
another issue with Scott. Here we go.
It's a pet peeve I have. And it's actually not bad on this kid.
No, it's not. But I think
know he did a couple Supermans too that so the chest piece was a separate piece, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, that fit in there.
Yeah, it was magnetized on a lot of them.
But a lot of these guys love to just raise that emblem on this stuff. It's a pet peeve of mine, John. It just makes me crazy. I'd rather have it scribed in and paint it,
right,
than have it raised. Now this isn't too dramatic.
No, I think.
There was one by Eric Sosa that was very popular. That you could put the traditional and then the modern S on.
Yeah, that Kingdom Come S.
Kingdom Come, right?
Yeah.
Right. And that I think they did that more to make it easier to paint.
Yeah, and that's what it is always. But I agree. It's sometimes it's too much. Doesn't look real.
It's a lot of masking for 2 seconds of painting.
Yeah, it's. But it's one of those pet peeves of mine that I just stop it.
I get like that too, Scott, because I go back to the Silver Age of Marvel.
Right.
And that's where I learned to draw from Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and Jim Steranko and guys like that, and Hal Foster and Bern Hogarth and Alex Raymond and all those guys, those great artists back then. And that's not the way that's supposed to look. And what happened to the webs, under his arms? Where did they? And the Spider-Man's not blue; it's really like a kind of a purple costume, originally. So when I've got a client right now that wants to redo a statue in the Steve Ditko style.
Oh, okay.
So I'm loving that. That's going to be fun. That's going to
I always like the Bowen stuff. Because the Bowen stuff to me,
he was accurate.
Was comic book true. Okay,
I agree 100%.
Sometimes it didn't make sense, but it was comic book true.
Well, there's an innocence to his sculpting that works with the comic book drawing.
Yes,
it fits. It's not overly detailed. It's not overly sharp. Sort of like Tony Cipriani, the way he sculpts.
Well, yeah, because Tony loves this. This is why Tony and I are friends. We talk about this.
I don't know if he'll agree with that statement, but
Tony, the heck with Tony. But no, it's Tony and I bust chops with Tony all the time, but he likes that same era of Silver Age, late 60s. Now Tony cuts off, I think it's 74. I think he says anything after 74 is shit. Okay. I'll cut off at about 1990, but
I cut off at like 67.
Yeah.
It's really early, but it was nice to be part of that, to see all that stuff happen as it happened, when it all came out. Right. I tell you guys a good story, real quick story. So for Christmas, I got a new bike one year, one of the Stingray bikes with the banana seat and the whole bit. Yeah. I loved it, and So
Don't you wish you could still get one?
we couldn't fit on it for one thing, but
Hey, wait, whoa.
I couldn't fit it.
Oh,
Scott needs two strapped together.
But it was the same year that Galactus made his debut in the Fantastic Four. And I had read the first issue with the Silver Surfer saying that, Galactus is coming. And the new issue was out. So I drove my bike up to the drugstore and got off and went in and went to the rack and bought my comic books and read them all the way home and got home and I went, shit, I left my bike. I forgot the bike. I ran all the way back and it was gone. So this is a guy that's, totally obsessed with comic books so much that he walked right past his bicycle, brand new bicycle, and walked home because he had to read about Galactus.
Watch this, Jason. Jason, I'll give you $20 and you can tell me what issues of Fantastic Four Galactus first appeared in. Don't look it. No, don't look it up. No.
I don't know.
I bet you John can.
Oh, I don't want to. It's either 38 or 44, right around there. 38, maybe.
48, 49, and 50. I think was that storyline.
It's close. Yeah.
I just heard that the other day. I should have.
So
that was amazing stuff.
Yeah, it was amazing stuff.
Superman were they were saving Girl Scouts and Marvel had this. And so I was just I'll Marvel.
Something we haven't talked about yet, and I want to hit before we go. Sweet Life Productions.
Yes.
So we've had Jeff on talking about it. Let's get your take on Sweet Life.
Well, I think I like what I like. There's a lot of different things I like about it, but what I like mostly about it was it came about through friendship, and it came about trying to help people that after COVID weren't getting a lot of work. A lot of our caster friends, and printing was still kind of new back then. Mm-hmm. It's just, isn't it amazing in 5 years how it's changed? And so we thought it would be a cool idea. We started Zooming with people. And there were about 5 or 6 of us that were Zooming because Wonderfest was closed that year. We weren't sure about the next year. So we would Zoom every week. And we'd have like Steve Riojas on and David Fisher sometimes. And Rick Cantu joined us quite a few times. And but it was a core of the 4 of us. And one day we were talking and we were saying, boy, wouldn't it be cool if we could commission a kit and then we'd have some work for some of these guys to, cast. We could pay them, and they'd make a little money till things got better. And that was the basis of all of this. So things got out of control after that. And, I don't know exactly.
Got out of control.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I really
went rogue. They went rogue.
It was like, 1 minute we were doing that. And the next minute we were like, I think we need a logo. It really was. It was, we had a concept and we were very fortunate because Jeff's a graphic designer. Gordon has a background in graphics. I have my background, George Ganser is a great salesman and he knows how to talk to people. He knows how to communicate. So everybody had something to contribute to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it became apparent very quickly who could do what. And first piece, we did, the way that we looked at it is like, well, we're painters more than anything else. What would we like to see done with this? So when you go to paint it, it would be easy to paint and not a complete pain in the ass, right? Especially on all the details and stuff like that. So I think that helped a lot with the success of the first one with Doc Holliday, because he remains our biggest seller of everything that we've done so far. And we found a great sculptor. And we built a great rapport and a great relationship with him. Yeah,
that's Daniel. How do you say his last name?
Danielle Danko Angelosi.
Okay. I ask because he's agreed to come on next month. So.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy.
Hopefully we get him. And I think it was George was telling me his English is really good. And
yeah. And he goes around Europe and Italy, and he teaches classes and digital sculpting and things like that. So, and he's worked with a lot of big companies. Infinity Statues he worked with for quite a few years. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Mhm.
Yes, and I'm so
Or,
mad I didn't buy the Bogart Casablanca.
that's where I knew him from before. And I'm not sure if I recommended him or Gordon did, but one of us said, you got to see this guy. This guy can nail likenesses like almost nobody else.
Yeah.
And he's quick too. He's quick. He can have it. He'll show you the first pass render and you can already see the character. He's already there. It's like, Jesus, So to answer your question, I mean, it was just everything fell into place. And then Jeff had this idea about, well, what about Suite Life? Because we have the suite every year at Wonderfest. That's what that's based on. And if you look, the number of the suite is actually in the
I was just going to say that. I never noticed that before.
But they changed when they remodeled the hotel. They removed that suite number. It's now the number next to it.
Oh no.
Yeah, they combined two of the rooms together to make one suite.
Oh no.
So we might have to change it. But anyways,
Now leave it as a nod to the days gone by.
Yeah, you're right. But that's how all that started. It all kind of came together, and we were so fortunate to have the right guys in the right place. Jeff is just, he's done some phenomenal research and work, and he did the logo, and he does the photography, and he did the cards, and he does ad work because that's what he does.
Well, I want to congratulate all of you. These are probably some of the best kits ever in the world of garage kit.
Thank you.
Like they are up there with some like the best. So well done to everybody.
Thank you. We all really appreciate that, and we really appreciate giving us the time and the opportunity to talk about it and show some of it because like everybody else, we love this hobby. We want to see it continue. It looks like it's got new life right now.
It does. I think it does.
So one thing I want to say is
yes, sir.
About this line. A gentleman, and I won't mention his name, but he came to me on Saturday night, I think, maybe Friday night this year, and he says, well, what do you think of those Suite Life busts? And I said, well, I have all 4 of them. I said, I think they're beautiful. Okay. And he said to me, he says, well, do you think they're a little pricey? And I said, here's the deal. And this is what I tried to explain to him. Well, and I did explain to him. I said, there's 4 of those guys. Okay. They got to hire a sculptor. They got to hire a printer or a caster. Okay. So by the time they cover those costs and then split the money, there's probably not a whole lot there for them, even at $175. And, he looked at me and he says, I never thought of it that way. And he went and bought one the next day for me.
Oh, thank you.
So, but I mean, and this is true of a lot of things, of this hobby in general. A lot of people don't realize, there's costs involved. And like you just said on the packing. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's, when you really crunch the numbers, a lot of people don't crunch the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
3 of us that are in this thing have owned their own business.
Mm-hmm.
So when you really start to break it down, it's more about just being able to put money into the next project.
Right.
So you can do another one.
Which is what this hobby started out as.
Yeah, that's all it's ever been.
Yeah.
Nobody's making bank. Nobody's making big money. And I'll tell you this too, as a commissioned painter, you'd have to work 100 hours a week for the rest of your life to make any money. And you still wouldn't make the kind of money you would make at a real job. Mm-hmm. Unless you're maybe a handful of guys.
Right.
I'm talking like David Fisher and maybe a couple other guys like that can get.
Even that, David still has a day job. Like people know, he was still a graphic designer. He still had other work to supplement the painting.
That's true. That's true.
And people, and Scott's right. You're right. Like you hired one of the best sculptors in the business, and the work shows, right? So he doesn't come cheap.
No, he does not.
And you have to pay. And this is something people are like, well, they get mad at us for putting ads like during live streams and stuff because it interrupts. But I'm working for free here most of the time, and people don't time
and
slot,
I
like,
should be
yes.
getting paid. Okay, but
You're
it's
2 hours a month.
Well, you're like part of the comic relief. You should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
have
yes,
a
I
contract.
agree. I agree.
You need a contract.
But
He
I've
does-
also said
shut up,
too.
John. Shut up, John.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John. Maybe I could do something for Sweet Life.
We'll talk.
You
But
don't want him, trust me.
I'm very demanding. But I'll say the same thing about painters too. And you just touched on it. Especially back in the day, people would say, "Oh man, I don't know, this guy wants X amount to paint this." And this was in the days when it was a lot less to paint something.
Right.
Okay. So maybe somebody in those days wanted $500 to paint something. Okay. And I'd say, well, how many hours do you think that takes him? And I said, because if that takes him 100 hours, he's working for $5 an hour.
Yeah, it's do the math is what I
Would
think.
you work for $5 an hour? Okay. Because I would tell him, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just it. And that's not even, again, Scott, that's not even counting the packing. And we have to drive over and drop it off, right? You got gas. And I'm talking about doing this like I'm doing it full time. I do this every week. I have to pack. I've got all these packing materials. Paint isn't cheap anymore either. Brushes.
And you're right, packing material is not cheap. Like,
No,
none
I
of
know.
it is.
So,
None of it.
I go to Granger now and buy a big bag of popcorn.
well, that's just it. It's there's a lot of hidden costs. There's a lot of time involved. It's not just sitting there painting. It really isn't. And another thing that people don't realize is that while I'm painting for one guy, I'm shipping the one I finished, and I'm brokering the next job with the guy down the line.
Yeah.
So I'm working at 3 different jobs at the same time, not just the one.
Well, and that's where I say you've always treated it as a business.
You have,
It's you have a dedicated area. And I've seen pictures of your shipping area too. You've got the styrofoam
shipping
thing
area,
above you, and
Yeah.
Now, granted, apparently, when I get a kid, it just gets thrown in the box.
Well, it
was so
he
funny.
knows it's you, and he snaps them.
Yeah. Oh, Johansson, huh? What can we do to screw with him this time?
let's see. That's good. Break that.
Yeah. No, the breaking one was my fault. I will say the breaking one was my
No,
fault.
it's just hilarious. We were like, we got to get this out to Scott because he might talk about it on, on Model Club TV. We got to make sure he gets it. Then
I think it was the Ringo I got. I didn't get an arm, but I got 2. And I know how it happened. They were wrapped very similar. And, probably in the process, but one thing I do always say is these guys are going to make it right no matter what happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
These guys are going to make it right.
And that's, again,
that
thing, Jason and Scott, is from experience in the hobby as painters, buying stuff from people. Every so often you get something that's like, what the, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time it's fine, but sometimes you go, what were they thinking?
I got a kit literally one time, and he's a friend of mine, so I don't want to say anything. We put it in a box and wrapped it in brown paper. He didn't pack it in brown paper.
Right.
He wrapped it in brown paper. And I get this box, and it's going boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, oh, boy.
Yep.
And I opened it up, and it was okay. It was just a solid bust. But I was like, what the hell are you doing? Okay. It's like,
no, you can tell when people don't know, have never packed anything before. You can tell when they have, when it's, it's like, I'd rather have overkill anytime.
So, but I've got a few quick questions here.
Oh, sure.
We'll do a quick question round, maybe.
And then I have one more thing after that.
Okay.
What's our go-to paint these days? What's our go-to? Yes. What is your?
I have used forever Liquitex paints. They're expensive.
The tubes, and the
the little
bottles?
jars. Yeah.
Oh, and the jars. Okay.
Yeah.
These? Like that?
Yeah. I started when I was doing 2-dimensional paint. I used those, and they just kind of transferred over. I'm talking 40 some years.
So you still mix your own flesh tones and your own?
Yeah, everything's custom mixed because I believe every single person has a different skin tone to a certain extent. And I like to differentiate that. So if you got a Doc Holliday from me and a Wyatt Earp and a Johnny Ringo, they wouldn't look like it came out of a bottle. They wouldn't look exactly the same.
Is
and
there
it's something
anything
I can do easily? So
is there anything you just hate painting anymore, or just won't do anymore? Where
Yeah, there were a couple of jobs. The Poison Ivy from Sideshow. I did that eight times. I repainted it for clients, and I'll tell you a story. Maybe you can cut it out later, but the eighth guy he lived, I think it was in Japan or somewhere, or Europe, I can't remember. And he said, I love this character and I love this statue, but it needs to be repainted. I know you painted him. I said, I read where you weren't going to paint anymore, so don't ask, but I'll pay you like 4 times the amount that.
Oh, hooker money, John. Hooker money.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. And
That's not hooker money. That's call girl money. Hooker money is a lot less.
here's the funny thing about it. I went, well, maybe I do have to. And what I did was I took the job, but I met him halfway. I cut it in half what he offered. So I was still making a good over what I charged before, but I wasn't going to highway rob the guy, Mm-hmm. And you get people like that every so often, it'll be a guy that, doesn't have a lot of money, he's not a big collector, with deep pockets, but he loves this character and he wants you to paint it. He singled you out to paint his favorite character, so I'll take that job and I won't charge him.
Yeah.
Because I know what it means to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think that's good business too sometimes.
Yeah. Scott, another question?
No, I'm good. I think I'm good. I'm good.
You sent a couple other pictures. You have a pretty legendary display room that I wanted to show real quick.
Thank you.
Some Star Wars stuff. How do you choose what goes in your main display? And do you ever switch things out, or do you?
Yeah, that particular room when we first walked into the house, I said this because I used to be a home theater system designer, and for quite a few years, and worked on big, like $100,000 home theaters and stuff like that, big, dollar homes. So I had that background, and I've always been into audio and home theater and recording and music and all that stuff. I was a musician back in the day and singer and all that stuff. But I looked at that room and I said, this is a perfect TV theater display room. The shape of it, it's long, it's just set up right. So I went about, putting it together, and it went through because technology changed, it went through about 8 or 9 iterations before it got to this one. And this one I did in 2012, and it kind of encapsulated everything I was trying to do all along. Mm-hmm. I've got a nice 80-inch screen. I've got 7.2 surround sound. Lighting everything's controlled from a remote. Everything's touch of a button. Everything turns on, turns off. You can dim the lights, do whatever you want. Theater chairs that are completely motorized everywhere. And then I chose the things that I like most. I got Giger in the background, with aliens and some predators. I've got Star Wars over here, and I had Batman, but I changed it to Conan because I love that character, and Death Dealer, and I've got a signed Frazetta piece up there, and signed by him. Wow. And I've got on the back wall, there's the space jockey from Aliens, or Alien, and that was actually a print that was given to the cast and crew by Ridley Scott, and it's hand signed by H.R. Giger. It's one of 350 in the whole world, so that's pretty rare. And then the ampule from Prometheus, that was screen used. That was actually in the movie. And then the guitar is one of 50 from Ibanez. That's based on some of Giger's art. So there's some really cool stuff in there. And then a lot of the pieces on the back wall, a lot of those I painted myself too.
Very cool.
So what would you say your favorite genre is for yourself? Is it just too diversified to pick one?
Yeah, it's genres with certain particular characters. You know what I mean? I mean, Karloff is Frankenstein. Elsa Lancaster is the bride. That's they're iconic. They're one of a kind. Maybe the first Predator movie, the first and second Alien movies. H.R. Giger, of course, he's a god. You know, people like Takaya and Narasawa, right? You know, I mean, they're incomparable, really, to almost. When you think about the things that those two artists did for biomechanics and everything, every iteration that happened after that, kind of started with them,
Yep.
especially Narasawa. If you look at any of his books, he was taking a beetle and putting it with a man or another insect and putting
Those
it.
creature core books are amazing.
Yeah, creature core. Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable what he was doing so far back.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I remember getting Jason. We're going to go a little out of your expertise here because you probably never even heard of the album. But I remember getting the Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
I own that album, Jack Hole.
Just because of the art, probably.
Yes.
So
okay, well, here we go. I've got that in our bedroom, signed by Giger.
Oh wow.
Okay. Right. So that was my first introduction to it. Now I was young. I was in my early teens. And I remember looking at this is really freaky stuff. And then I remember seeing when Alien came out, I was like, boy, this looks a lot like this.
Right, right.
And that's when I did the research and found out, well, yeah, I guess it does because it's the same guy designed it, you know.
Well, that was, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know back then, you know, because I was, again, that isn't where I was
the
at.
thing, you know, Dan O'Banion found, I forget which book it was by Giger, and he brought it to Scott and he said, you got to look at this, because they had really bad designs for the Alien.
Yeah.
And he showed him the book, and, you know, Scott looked at it and said, this is our creature, you know.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history.
I own the Molly Hatchet albums with the Frazetta cover. Or the
Frazetta's a dime a dozen compared to Geiger. Come on.
I know. I'm just saying. But I'll buy records just for artwork sometimes.
Oh, sure.
How about watch John? I'm going to get him again. How about Roger Dean?
I don't even know who that is.
I like Roger Dean a lot.
Exactly.
No, I like Roger Dean a lot. You know, with the Yes albums, you know, back in the day. And
see,
here we go.
John likes good music, progressive rock. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a big Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
You and Scott should go dancing sometime.
Peter Gabriel.
Oh yeah, I've seen Gabriel 3 times. Yeah.
Early Genesis, probably.
Yes.
That's good stuff. I agree. It's good stuff.
King Crimson.
Seen Crimson many times. I've seen Tony.
Tony Levin.
Tony Levin 4 times. You know, just with his with the Stickmen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I met him once too, which was cool.
Did you? He seems like he's really cool.
He's a really down to earth guy. You know, if you ever watch an interview with him, he's like I don't know if you know the bass player Leland Sklar, guy with the big long beard.
Okay, yeah.
He's played with everybody, and they take their ego out of it, and they're in service of the music, of the musician. You know what I mean? And when you find musicians like that, especially session musicians that are really good, they're irreplaceable. They really are, you know. And that Tony's like that. He's very much whatever this song needs, that's what I'm going to try and do. And he's a fantastic bass.
I'm going to give you one more question. You grew up in Chicago, so do you remember Creature Features on Saturday night?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
My grandmother used to want to watch Lawrence Welk, and I would wait until she fell asleep in her chair, and then I'd turn it over to Creature Features, and then she'd wake up and she'd go, "That's not Lawrence Welk." You know, it'd take her a minute to but you know, whenever, yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
And the Late Late Show.
Yep.
You know, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I mean, you know, I remember watching that when I was a little kid. I mean, we got introduced. That was the weird thing about it. We got introduced to the classic Universal monsters really through television, because they were all done in the 30s, some in the 40s. By the 50s, they were kind of pushed out, and they started showing them on television. And that's how we never saw any of that in the theater.
Yeah. And
like
famous
now,
monsters came along and
everything that you can remember, Jason, you've probably seen 90% of it in the theater. You know, a good percentage.
I remember Creature Features. I would watch. I remember the intro always scaring the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Being like, oh man, this is.
Wasn't it like a graveyard or
Yeah.
Yeah.
log
And there was smoke. Remember the
then
smoke?
Then they'd show
Yeah.
clips.
I'll see if I can
from the
put one in.
movies.
It might get us
Right,
dinged
right.
up.
There was they were walking towards you. Yeah.
And it's actually Henry Mancini, Experiment in Terror was the song that
Really?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I never knew that till not too long ago, and I did a little research, and it was the whole doom, 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 doom. But it's yeah.
To rock stars for a second. I met Alice Cooper a couple years ago.
Yeah, I met him too.
He's a really nice guy.
Isn't he?
He was awesome.
Yeah.
And all I said to him, I said, "Thank you for doing the Muppet Show." Did I tell this story on air? Because he was one of the hosts on the Muppet Show one time, and that had such an influence on me as a kid. Watching all the creepy, gross, weird things on the Muppet Show, that episode with Alice Cooper, I was like, "Oh my God, who's this Alice Cooper guy? This is up my alley as a kid." And I told him, "Thank you," and he goes, "Dude, I almost didn't do that." He's like, someone talked him into doing it. And he's like, "I'm so happy I did now looking back on it." Like that he had done the Muppet Show.
Well,
but that was just amazing.
He lives in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so I was managing this car stereo shop in downtown. And I'm, standing at the front counter one day and a door opens and here comes Alice Cooper walking. And he walks in and he goes, "Yeah, I'm here to put a stereo on my daughter's car. She just turned 16 and I want to put a stereo in." And I said, "Sure." I said, I'll be right back." And I walked in the back and I go, "Alice Cooper. It's Alice Cooper. He's in the store." And they go, "Yeah, we know. He comes there every year and puts a stereo in one of his kids' cars." Like it was nothing. They all knew him,
That's awesome.
So, I hung out with him for about 45 minutes, just shooting the shit, and you're right. He was like,
he's a cool dude.
Go down to earth.
Yeah.
So easy to talk to. None of that, the BS.
Yeah, none.
He's just really nice guy. It was great.
Cool. Before we go, first of all, let's do contact info for Sweet Life, and then how do people get a hold of you if they want a commission? And let's go through all that.
Well, I'm on Facebook. That's where I show everything. Okay. So it's either you can put in just my name, and it should go to that, or you can put in John Alred Painter.
Okay. And we'll have links below for everything.
It comes up. And then I think it's sweetlifefigures.com.
Okay. Well, we'll check. We'll have that link there too.
Yeah, I'm sorry because I never.
Yeah,
I never call myself.
You're on Instagram as well. Do you do a lot there for people to see?
I don't have the same. I don't get as much traction there.
Okay.
There's a lot of other stuff going on Instagram. It's
Yeah. Okay.
But
I'll put that link up too, so we'll get some people following you over there as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks again, guys. I mean, it was great.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
You'll have to severely cut this back, I'm sure, when you.
Oh, you never know. We throw it on. Hey, we had Jesse on, and he was our number one bitcher about the length of our episodes. And he had the longest episode of anyone.
I could imagine he would be able to talk quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
He had a PowerPoint for us as well.
And he had a PowerPoint for us.
Here's the thing about him, though. I want to say this. I was looking through because I've been doing all those Halloween nightmare kits for somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got a client he's got all of them. So he wants them all painted. So I had to keep going back to Jesse's page and looking at stuff. And he's done some really great stuff.
He has.
He really has.
He was what him and Jayco were the first people really doing superhero stuff. Jayco and then Jesse kind of picked up after that.
Yeah, John did a whole line. He did Captain America and Iron Man and Dr. Doom and a bunch of them there. Back in the day.
Awesome. Thank you, man. This has been great.
All right, boys.
We'll have you back again. We'll now who's up next from the Sweet Life to be on the show? Who do we got to get?
George or Gordon.
There we go. I think have them flip a coin.
They're both great guys, and it'll be fun talking to them.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
That was John. That was a really good interview. Went really well. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah. Thanks, John. Yeah, no, it went really well.
Thanks for joining us.
That's probably the most I've ever talked to John as well.
Yeah.
Which he mentioned after we signed off.
Yeah.
This is one of the first chances he's ever gotten to just sit and talk to either of us. So
he's always busy up in that suite. It's hard to pull people aside. So cool. Please follow John's links down below for Sweet Life and for him if you want something painted. Reach out to him on Facebook. He said was the best place to get a hold of him. So yeah, thank you, John. That was great. And anything else, Scott, before we go?
Picnic again, August 31st.
Yeah, more details
Sunday.
to follow, but make your plans accordingly.
Mhm.
And that's it.
And
We have a
that's it.
really good guest coming up for the next episode too. B-movie master. We'll leave it at that. Master
Okay.
sculptor. It's the next one.
Maybe we'll get George to come on for a few minutes to talk about this contest mess.
Yeah, we're gonna try. We're gonna try and get him on.
Maybe do an extra. Maybe
Yeah,
an
we'll do a
extra.
little extra. Separate it out so people can watch just that. Good idea.
Yeah, like what's in the can of worms. Yeah,
That's a good title. I like that. We're gonna use it.
what a great segment that would be from old Scott to be part of.
Can of
Okay.
Worms. Is there an STL of Can of Worms? We can make the Can of Worms trophy and send it to.
It probably is.
Oh man, we'll have to look it up. All right, gallery, everybody. We'll see you next time. That was Model Club TV, episode 118. Say goodbye, Scott.
Goodbye, Scott.